Okay. Jake, why did the snowman go to the tea shop?
You've caught me off guard here, mate.
To get some iced tea.
Oh. Gonna.
So I'm Connor, and this is Jake, and Adam's back!
Hi! I've returned!
From the darkness. We are here
Still in shock.
to recap, overview, and do rankings for Doctor Who Series 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Yep.
I'll be putting some timestamps in the description so you guys can jump forward if you don't have time to watch it all, but you should watch it all because it's going to be very juicy. So, also, I think we've decided we're going to be doing the spin-offs, whether you like it or not, so yay. Cool. Right, so, do you want to get straight into the characters, or do you want to get shit off your chest first? Do you want to talk about the thing as a whole?
As a whole?
Yeah.
Like, talk about the series as a whole?
Do you want to get that off your chest now, or should we go right into the characters?
Let's go into the characters.
Okay.
And then we'll do the series as a whole.
Okay. Well, obviously, the big star was the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. What did you think of the Ninth Doctor in Series 1?
Definitely an interesting progression of a character. One that is very dynamic in ways that you wouldn't realize, in terms of him becoming more human and just seeing Rose as, I don't know, he felt like a fatherly figure almost towards the end. But it was also confusing because it was like you didn't know whether he was trying to be a fatherly figure or whether he was trying to be a love interest or whatnot, and it was all a ruse. But I think for a lead for a show, that he's definitely one of the most interesting and complex characters that I've personally watched, and I think at the end of each episode, I always ended up wanting to know more about the Doctor, wanted to know more about his past, and each episode a tiny bit is revealed, and then it makes him even more interesting, and it's just I like it because he's anything that you are told about the Doctor, you're gonna believe for truth. You can't sit there and go, well, that's just fucking preposterous, because he's the Doctor. He can fucking do whatever he wants. So yeah, that's what I thought about him.
And obviously, Christopher Eccleston at the end of Series 1 regenerated into David Tennant.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sad that you only got one season?
Yeah, for sure. Christopher Eccleston is like an amazing actor, and I know a little bit about David Tennant from Harry Potter and watching Midnight and Blink before.
And you've seen Broadchurch, right?
I've seen a couple episodes of Broadchurch.
Okay.
Can't really remember.
He's one of the characters in that too.
Yeah. But from what I know, David Tennant's definitely a capable,
of course,
a really, really good actor.
Yeah, of course. But what I'm trying to say is that are you going to miss Christopher Eccleston?
Yeah.
Adam, what would you like to say about Eccleston?
He was thank you. He was exactly what the show needed as a lead to successfully come back, because they'd had attempted it once before, and by no fault of the actor Paul McGann, who did a really, really good job, it for whatever reason it fell apart. And this second attempt at a revival, had they not got the perfect person for what was being written as well, it would have just fell on its face and people would not be interested. And I think the Ninth Doctor as a character, and both as a performance by Christopher Eccleston on a week-to-week basis, when he was more comedic and when he was more serious, just was absolutely what the show needed. And the fact that he wasn't bright and colourful, he was kind of grungy and sort of, he was gritty.
He has moments of colourful though.
Yes, but in purely in his aesthetic as well, like just the leather jacket and the purple top and the jeans or whatever he wears. He's just very stripped back, but he still has that huge personality. Just he's hiding something, which is he's sort of. The character had evolved from what he was in the classic series, which is exactly what it needed to be. Otherwise, there would have been no point in bringing it back. Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
what I have to say about that.
Yeah, Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, he's a very, very nearly my favourite Doctor, almost. A lot of it has to do with the fact that he had such a small amount of time as the lead role.
But even so, like what the amount that he achieved
Absolutely.
in 13 episodes
Absolutely.
is insane.
He was great in every single episode as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think I didn't. No, I didn't like him in anything.
yeah,
like,
you didn't not like him. You
Every
mean.
time I saw him
Yeah.
on screen, I enjoyed.
Yeah,
Something.
He's the best part of every episode he's in.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean,
Even when they're trying not to make him the lead of the episode.
Even
Oh,
still,
yeah.
episodes like
Even-
Father's Day.
yeah.
He's a side character.
even in something like Father's Day, where he's not even the main character, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like, I could not say anything bad about Eccleston except for the fact that he left.
Way too soon.
That's literally the only thing. But I would be in like a parallel universe where he stayed. I would be scared that we wouldn't get Tennant
Yes.
because I don't want that either.
No. Yeah.
The one thing I will have to say though is because he chose to leave, the one really good thing is this entire first season was designed to try and explain you all the different aspects of Doctor Who you need to know about the show.
Yeah.
And the fact that they introduced regeneration in the first season was really good for the viewers to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was that last bit of detail missing.
Yes. Of people who had come and didn't know
Yeah.
anything about the old show.
Because, yeah, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff, like, in the other seasons that you'll get to see. But in terms of the essential Doctor Who that you need to know going forward, I'm happy that they had that in the first season. And, yeah, I think this short amount of time, I think, makes it a very unique character.
Yes, absolutely.
And, yeah.
I'd say it makes them more personal as well.
Mm.
Yes.
Like if you watched it
Yeah.
whilst it was broadcasted, it would be such a nostalgic thing for you going back to him.
Yeah. And, yeah, for a long time, because his season broadcast in a time where not a lot of people were, like in the general public, were actually aware, and a lot of people caught onto the show later. For a long time, Eccleston was very, like, he was popular but a bit under the radar.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Netflix generation, Eccleston is the Doctor that introduces people to the show, which is excellent. And I've been seeing fantastic, and I've been seeing a lot online of people saying that their favorite Doctor is Eccleston, and I think because of streaming, that's one of the main reasons why people have gotten exposure.
And he's one of those ones where people say he's their favorite, and I would be inclined to agree. It's just same thing again of had he had a bit more to do, had the circumstances behind the scene not affected him leaving, he could very well be my favorite. In fact, he's up in my top 3, regardless of the fact that he only did the one season. Yeah.
He's my top 1 at the moment.
Hey.
1 out of 1. Although to be fair, you've seen bits and pieces of others in the classic clips. And
1 out of 1.4.
Yeah. Something like that.
So yeah.
Who knows?
I've probably seen about a fourth of
The funny thing is you've probably seen as much classic Who as you've seen of New Who past Eccleston because of the clips.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. The one Doctor he hasn't seen yet is McGann
Ah.
or Capaldi. Yeah, but that's different.
We'll catch up to that.
Yeah. But the one classic Doctor you haven't seen is McGann, which is interesting. But I mean, obviously, for reasons.
Yes.
So I'm gonna move on to something that's not my opinion, but I do like to consider a lot in my reviews. I like to consider the general public.
Yep.
So some of the people that aren't too fond of Christopher Eccleston tend to say that he's weak in comedy.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
I disagree as well, but I can see the point.
And like we said, been saying a lot. It's down to the fact that comedy is such a subjective thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's this thing of because he's also most of the time like he's fun, but a lot of the time he's quite serious. Especially sort of like from episode 5 onwards, he gets very very serious at points. I can kind of understand why people found him a bit heavy when they think back to nostalgia. If they been returning and they think back nostalgically to the classic show, and even though there were a lot of dark points in that, they think of how colourful and fun things may have been, and sort of through the rose-tinted glasses, expected a more fun Doctor.
I think a big problem as well with the comedy side of Christopher Eccleston is that it was very slapstick.
It was.
Yes,
And
that's a good point.
And I think the general example is World War III.
Yeah.
That one episode is the example of which side of comedy do you lie on.
Exactly.
And
the slapstick's like a very it's one of the most, I would say, if not one of the most subjective sides of subgenres of comedy, because it's either you're gonna find it hilarious or you're just gonna find it really dumb.
And because I'm such a big fan of Russell T Davies comedy, I love World War III.
Yeah.
That one episode, because it's so entertaining for me, but for a lot of people that comedy's awful.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't like
Well,
that
as
episode.
we said in the review, like, we are able to look past that comedy. And even in that episode, as the Doctor, none of that humour sort of seemed out of place. Like, the fighting in the elevator, that wasn't him. That was separate characters. But as a season, I can definitely understand people's criticisms of that. Like, weird tonal shifts like that. But as a character, I kind of disagree slightly.
The other episode people tend to point to is Rose.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comedy in Rose, and it's very cheesy.
Yeah. Especially with Mickey being that comedic, very slapsticky comedic relief.
We'll get on to Mickey in a bit.
Yeah.
So the next character we have to discuss is, of course, Rose Tyler.
Yep.
So you go first.
Well, knowing the background of the actress Billie Piper, it's amazing how much she managed to accomplish in her
she was 21 when she shot this season.
And what that was her debut as
her first big debut as a TV actor.
Yeah. And she did a stellar job. Like, there's definitely points in her acting where you can see the immaturity and like the bit of
I will just make a comment now before you finish. I've been listening to some Big Finish with Billie Piper in it. She basically Big Finish's audio stories.
Yeah.
They filmed them like last year.
Yeah.
So like Billie Piper's like 34 now or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And she's playing the same character, but you can feel more maturity in her voice,
Yeah.
and she feels more like a mother figure as opposed to a young girl.
Absolutely. Well, it's just, if you see Billie Piper in anything else, like, even though it's a completely different character, her character in Penny Dreadful, as an actress, even in the sort of the more comedic or lighter scenes, she's just more refined than she was when she was playing Rose.
But I'm not saying like I don't like that. There's no.
It's just a difference in maturity.
I really like it because it's not. It's like she's not playing the character. She's also playing herself.
Yeah.
Like it feels like Billie Piper playing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it doesn't feel like just a random actress playing this character. It's like
it's genuine.
It's Rose as Billie Piper and Billie Piper as Rose.
Well, because Rose is an immature character in and of herself, so that kind of maybe our sort of noticing her being less mature of an actress purely was the direction of Billie Piper.
Yeah.
Because the character of Rose is an immature one to an extent.
But other than that, I think as a character for Rose, you definitely go on a massive journey because she is what you're seeing the story through, or the eyes you see the story through, and she's taking you on this journey with the Doctor and whatnot. And I love being able to feel like I'm progressing alongside a character in the story.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like watching a show where I'm just watching characters do their thing.
Yeah.
I like feeling like I'm part of the story and that I'm and she's the easiest character to invest in.
Yeah.
Because
she's the most human.
Yeah. And
that's the thing about her immaturity, is that she makes mistakes, and that's what makes her human.
Yeah.
It's Father's Day.
Oh yeah. Father's Day, in my opinion, is Rose's best episode.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm Rose to me is a very good character in series 1. I think it's the template for a new series companion. Very different to the old series, but still, I think for this new show, I think she did absolutely wonderful. Yeah. With a couple of exceptions, but honestly, like, every companion has problems.
The only thing I don't like is her fucking tongue coming out of her mouth all the time, and it's just like, I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like
just,
it's supposed to
flirty.
It's supposed to be a flirty thing.
But it's just like a bit like,
Yeah.
no more.
Yeah. What did you think of her at the end of the Parting of the Ways,
Parting of the Ways.
the finale,
Um,
where she was
well,
basically
she's not
she
really
was
Rose anymore. She
became the bad wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the bad wolf's a different character,
Mm.
I guess. But, yeah, I like. It felt like she had reached her climactic point as a character whilst becoming the bad wolf, and it kind of it's a bit mysterious because it's like, well, what the fuck is she gonna do now?
Can you see why some people might have an issue with an ordinary girl destroying millions of Daleks?
Maybe if I was an old time viewer, I guess.
Well, I don't
would
think
be
it's
against
necessarily restricted to that either, because Anthony didn't like it.
that. Well, I don't know.
The way we saw it was a bit different though, because we saw it as the story unfolding.
Well, you asked me the question of did I think that the bad wolf was it Deus
Deus Machina.
Machina?
Yeah.
And no, I don't think it is. I think it was very, very clearly thought of before.
Well, the heart of the TARDIS is shown in Boomtown, isn't it? At the end of Boomtown.
Oh, it's shown in the Edge of Destruction and
Yeah,
Terminus.
absolutely. So it's not something that just comes out of nowhere. We're like, oh, suddenly there's this thing, and she gets this power, and she does this. But it's something that has sort of been drip fed, or something that's been put in the back of your mind that you're like, oh, that's an interesting beat in Boomtown. Not necessarily thinking it would come back later, which is something that I really like about Russell T Davies' writing, which I'm sure we'll get onto. Yeah,
we'll get onto. Yep.
Yeah, no. The whole thing about the bad wolf, I don't think. I didn't not like it. Like I thought it was a really great.
Yeah, and so do I. I agree. It's fantastic.
Great way to wrap it up.
But yeah, and I just gotta
different as well.
I just gotta consider the perspectives. That's all.
Yeah.
Because if someone didn't connect with Rose's character, that moment might seem jarring.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
But luckily we did. What did you think of Mickey Smith?
Well, to be honest, I think the actor for Mickey is amazing.
He is.
I think
he's incredible.
I think he's a really great actor.
Yeah.
Mainly because he's so good at easily changing between those tones and different and making you feel sorry for the character, but then also just finding the character like a complete piss take at the same time.
He makes it natural.
Yeah,
The shifts between tones. Yeah.
There's like one episode he can be fucking running into corrugated iron sheets of metal, and then the next episode he can be bringing Rose back down to earth and telling her how much of a bitch she's been.
He's so good in Boomtown.
Like
it's that.
Yeah.
That part where he stands up to Rose, because Rose up until that point is kind of you kind of assume from the perspective of Russell T Davies, she's kind of like the perfect companion, if you will. Whereas,
well, in some ways, I think Russell T Davies sees Rose as a light, but I don't think he sees her as perfect.
True.
You know
true.
What I mean?
Yeah. But he sees her as a sort of in a very, very positive light, ignoring the fact that she's treated Mickey really horribly.
Yeah.
So then when you finally get to see Mickey call her out in a bullshit,
Yeah.
for both characters, though I don't quite like the writing of Rose in that scene, for both characters, their acting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're just so good. And their chemistry is really good.
Well, I think Russell T Davies was intentionally trying to make her a bit horrible.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Like,
So, and again, you felt, even though Mickey was to begin with just the comic relief, he evolved to become a three-dimensional character who you felt sorry for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like it also made the whole idea of being with the Doctor more alluring as well.
Yeah.
Because she's given up all these Earth.
Yeah. And damaging as well.
Yeah, she's damaging and giving up all this past life she has on Earth to be and entrust her life with this random dude that has a fucking police box.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it just makes him so much more intriguing.
Well, I honestly think like thinking about the way Rose is written, it's almost like similar to like a Jaime Lannister, where you know that she's really a good person, but she does make some mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's just carelessness. It's not that she wants to be a bad person.
Yeah.
It's just that she's not fully paying attention to everything, and that's because she's young. And I think it's totally understandable, but obviously some people find that unlikable. Yeah. That's the difference. Yeah. Anyway, back to Mickey.
I don't have much else to say.
I thought.
I mean, as a side character, he's one of the more complex ones.
Yeah, I thought he had really good character development, especially in the Slovene two-parter.
Yeah.
But he was great in that. Yeah, because there's a lot of people I've seen that they really don't like Mickey in the first episode, just because he's such a goof, and then he steps it up a bit later on.
But it's kind of like in terms of like something that I don't necessarily agree with, but can fully understand is that that example. Because when I was a child when that episode first came out, so I was really amused by him, and like the comedic stuff the goofiness didn't really bother me. And then obviously he evolved and became a much more interesting character.
But obviously this is just the beginning, and I'll have a lot more to say about Mickey in series 2.
Oh yes,
a lot more.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Now we're going to move on to, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Doctor Who characters of all time, and that's Jackie Tyler. What did you think of Jackie Tyler?
So I think throughout the episodes, my view on Jackie Tyler just shifted back and forth from annoyed as fuck at her to like really impressed by her, and then back to annoyed as fuck.
Do you know what that is?
A good character.
Do you know what that is, though? That's a good mother character.
Yeah.
Because that is how people generally feel about their mothers in real life.
Yeah.
They love them one day, and then you hate them the next day, and then you love them again, then you hate them.
Yeah.
In general.
In general.
Maybe
speaking personally as well. But, no, yeah, for sure. And I 100% can see that the only reason that I'm doing that is because the character is so well written, and everything about the way that the actress, I don't know her name,
Camille Kaduri,
the way she acted that character just really, really sold that motherly figure, and there's nothing she did wrong, and like she was just the quintessential mother.
Oh yeah.
But also the character development of her as well, all the way to the end, where she learns to trust Rose and the Doctor, and then they've made decisions.
Oh yeah.
That she knows is right.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Jackie is that I 100% believe that she's Rose's mother.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even though they don't look that dissimilar in age, I always believed it.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Jackie, is she's such a believable character.
Yeah.
And what would you like to say?
Well, the big thing for me about Jackie is, again, what I was saying just about the series as a whole in terms of bringing it to the 21st century. She grounds the show a little bit in terms of the fact that Rose is off having adventures, but Jackie, especially at the beginning of Aliens of London, how they show the effects of of running away with the Doctor, both for Mickey and Jackie. Like,
and she doesn't even care as well. She's just like,
it's just it help. Jackie helps give the show humanity, like Rose does as well. Rose is a human character, but the fact that there is a mother character at all, helps make it feel more real.
Yeah, and we'll get more onto the episodes later, but I will say before I forget, I think I was thinking a lot about Aliens of London, that episode, and why it probably feels like it's got a lot of depth, and I think that's one of the main reasons. That side story actually makes Aliens of London have a lot of gravitas.
That's why I liked it so much.
Yeah,
I think I said it in the review. But
I think that's why, because it had such a good mix of its own story and the story arc of the series. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, which is why it's underrated.
All right,
bitches. So Jackie is just fantastic. Now we're gonna move on to the best character of all time,
Captain Jack Harkness. So he came in The
Empty
Child, and at the start I was wary of him. I didn't not like him, but I didn't necessarily love him.
Didn't you describe him as another Adam?
I did.
Yeah.
I did describe him as another Adam. My own personal taste affected that, and I think it was just like a lot. now that I've come to the end of the series and I know what happened at the end and what he meant to the story.
Yeah.
I can't not love him because he is an amazing character, and there are some things that happen in The Bad Wolf that were so fucking funny that I just like that sold me the character and
Last Gun.
Yeah, that's one. But yes, I don't know what it was about. Maybe it was just the mood I was in when I watched the episode, or something about him when I first saw him in The Empty Child just niggled me a little bit.
Well, I think that's kind of the intention.
Yeah,
he's supposed to come he's super charming, but he's supposed to sort of come off as like too charming. Like it seems like, what are you up to? What's your ulterior motive?
That's how I felt. Like how they would talk about the medical ship and stuff, and he'd be like making up some bullshit, and then I was like, this dude just does not seem genuine.
No, yeah.
And that's why I had a feeling that he was another Adam, not necessarily because he was annoying, but because it's just the character would turn into another.
Yeah. Like an unnecessary addition that completely retracts and make what could be a decent episode into an awful one. But we'll get to that, I'm sure. But yeah, Jack is a brilliant character, and like as you said, he again, just like everyone else, evolves across the series and becomes like a pivotal part towards the end, and the fact that he has almost like a flirtatious rivalry with the Doctor, kind of thing. It's just such an interesting dynamic.
It's also more interesting because it's not just competing over women. It's competing like both ways because he's homosexual. So it's very bizarre.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jack's trying to seduce the Doctor through competition, almost kind of thing, and that's just a really interesting thing we haven't seen before. Yeah. And that's part of Jack's appeal.
That concept of him like flirting with Rose to make the Doctor jealous or something is so weird.
And it just switches that kind of dynamic on its head, which we would expect, which happens earlier in the season with Adam and Rose flirting. But
the Doctor's just like, nah, like I got this.
He knows how to play the game.
Yeah, so what I see is with The Empty Child, the Doctor dances, is that's Captain Jack's introduction and development. Yeah. And then after that, his character's set. It's set like after that story, and then he can...
I think Boomtown definitely develops him.
Yeah, well, the thing is that Boomtown takes place quite a while after the Doctor dances. They go on a few trips. And so basically what I see is he develops in that two-parter, and then after that, he has become the action man, and he can just be himself. That's what I see. But yeah, I mean, cards on the table right now. If you were to point a gun at my head and say, who's my favourite Doctor Who companion of the 55 years, it's Captain Jack Harkness. He's incredible.
What if I were to say mine was Adam? Would you grab the gun and point it at my head?
You want to die. No, we're all allowed our opinions, even if they're wrong.
Well, speaking of Adam, we'll start with you, Jake.
Well, the thing is, I mean, yeah, he was a fucking annoying little prick, but that was the whole purpose of him, and he fulfilled his purpose. And whilst he wasn't really necessary in terms of like introducing him in Dalek, didn't I don't know, that just the way it just felt very clunky. Yes. Like his character felt very clunky and not well refined, and the way it was introduced, and then the way it just he just kind of disappeared the next episode. Yeah. Like it just felt like a waste of time almost.
Some of his dialogue is really dodgy.
Well, I felt like the only reason Adam existed was for the long game to be the antagonist. Ish.
Well, he kind of is. Like, I guess you could sort of argue that maybe that was Russell T Davies attempting to make an episode where the companion's the villain, as opposed to the actual villain being the villain. Yeah. But it just comes across as poorly writing this guy who's supposed to be incredibly smart. They introduce him and he's supposed to be this incredibly smart, charming guy. Through what the lines are saying, through what I assume is written on the page, it's supposed to be this charismatic guy. Yeah. But he's not. No. And it's just this.
It felt so juvenile.
Yes, and it's this example of like I can't say that because that's spoilers. But there's a character in series 4 who he reminds me of, but that character that character is deliberately like that.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Adam's worse than that character.
Well, because that character's supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
Whereas it just feels like Adam was something that was supposed to be something else and failed. And as you said, his dialogue's wonky. Every scene he's in, he's like a different character.
Oh yeah.
There's no consistency and.
I think I did say that they were tossing up on what to do with him, and they were tossing up whether to make him relatable or not.
Like, there's spoilers for a comic that I read. I think you mentioned this in the Long Game Review. He's a villain in one of in this Prisoners of Time comic, and when that was revealed, I don't think I've ever been angrier reading a comic book because that was so fucking underwhelming. Because he was such a lame character then, and he was still a lame character 60 years later or however long it was supposed to be. It's just. And it brings shame upon the name Adam. It's just it's just a shock. Yes.
Yeah, he's in my opinion, he's one of the worst companions of all time, but I wouldn't say he's the worst.
No.
He's not the worst. No.
Because at least he was only there for 2 episodes.
Right.
Moving on.
Glad we got that out our system.
Moving on to some more positive topics. Right. So we're going to be doing a bunch of categories where we pick up like the standout of something.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the category, and then I'm going to list a whole bunch of them, and then we have to discuss and basically decide which one was the best or worst or whatever.
Okay. Yep.
Personally or collectively?
Whatever is necessary. Okay. And also, when we're doing this thing, this is included in the rankings and all of my channel. There is one rule that we always follow, and I told you about this yesterday. What is it, Adam?
Well, oh God, what's the rule? Oh, no ties.
No ties, ever.
Yeah, no ties.
We never, ever have ties. There's no such thing as 2 best of anything.
So it's definitive rankings. There's no, yeah.
You have to, if you want to be part of this, you have to make sure when you're running a list to never have ties. Because this is not preschool. This is serious business.
What if you like
I don't give a shit what you think. If it comes down to a speck on the floor, or how fit the companion is, or whatever the quality of the sound or something, or the atmosphere of your bedroom when you watched it.
I feel like I just got yelled at by Dad.
No ties.
Yes, sir.
Back to business. Standout villain. We have the Nestine Consciousness in the Autons. Cassandra O'Brien, the skin lady.
The skin flat.
Yeah. The repeated meme. The robot spiders.
Well, the repeated meme is Cassandra.
No.
Oh.
No. Let's pretend like it's not.
Okay.
The robot spiders. The Gelth. The Slovene. Henry Van Staten. The editor. The Jagrafess. I'm not going to say the full name. No. The Time Reapers. The empty gas mask people. I don't know what the official name is.
The
empty children. The empty children. I don't know. Whatever. The gas mask people. Whatever they're called. The Daleks and the Emperor Dalek.
I have a question. With the Daleks, does the specific Dalek from Dalek count, or is that a separate thing?
Oh.
Because I don't count him as a part of the Daleks in Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways.
I think if we're going to stick to our own continuity, we decided that in the episode Dalek that there were 4 villains and the Dalek was one of them.
Okay, yeah.
So yes, it does count.
In that case, that gets my vote, because I just think no other villain, even the Emperor Dalek, inadvertently causing the Doctor to regenerate, didn't have nearly as profound an effect on the Doctor as that first Dalek did.
So your pick's the Dalek.
Absolutely, and also the quality of the episode.
Oh yeah. What was your favourite?
Mine's the empty children.
Empty children.
Yeah,
Okay.
They made me the most uncomfortable.
Ah, yeah, the creepiness. Yeah, definitely.
So
they have the best look and atmosphere,
Yeah.
and
I think I'm gonna rate a villain on something that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I understand
Yeah.
what you mean.
So that's my vote.
That's a very popular opinion to have anyway.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand.
Those would be my second.
Yeah. See, it's tempting because I love the human mastermind villain usually.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite classic episodes is the invasion. And the Cybermen only come in halfway through, but the villain, I can't remember what his name is, but the
It'll come to
it's the guy who's also in the Daleks master plan. Oh my god, I love that villain. So that's why, like, someone like Henry Van Staten would be like something that I would love to pick, but I can't not pick the Daleks.
Yeah.
The Daleks are Doctor Who, and in my opinion, like, this series is one of the best uses of the Daleks in the entire show.
Definitely.
Maybe rivaled only by like the first Doctor.
Yeah.
And some people would probably say, seventh, yeah.
But that's like
That's a different variable.
yes.
But my favorite use of the Daleks is in series 1, and they are absolutely incredible.
And the redesign is awesome.
Oh yeah, the bronze post Time War Daleks. Yeah, and it's really cool to see the Emperor Dalek come back from evil of the Daleks.
Yes.
But it has to be the Daleks.
Yeah.
They are Doctor Who to me.
So there was an Emperor Dalek before.
Yeah, way back
Yeah.
then, yeah.
So the Daleks do believe in religion.
Well, they believe in rank.
Oh, okay.
Not because they.
That's a very different concept.
Well, there's a whole thing about disparate beliefs.
The Emperor Dalek in Evil of the Daleks is more of a
Like a high
captain.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's not. He wasn't treated as a god. He was treated as the leader.
Whereas the Emperor.
Yeah.
And the Time War just fucked them all up, so it just
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
things.
So, I mean, we kind of outnumber you 2-1.
Though
But then again, I do think
you're choosing the
there
Daleks
is-
from.
there is actually there is a chance that the audience might have picked the gas mask people though, which would make it even. But I'm not sure.
So it's up to you guys. Either we win or it's a tie.
How about this? How about we make a straw poll for? Have you know what a straw poll is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make a straw poll for each one of these categories that we're doing right now, and we chuck a comment in the comments section, and you guys all vote for your pick, and then
At some point down the line, when we get
When we read comments again.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. We'll do a straw poll for each of these. So who is the best villain from series 1? And why is it not the Daleks? Right.
do you want to know why it's not the Daleks for me?
Why?
I don't know actually.
You came in with such confidence.
You explained it. They're not as creepy as
Yeah,
the,
Gas Mask Children like a nightmare fuel. Like
Yeah.
even to this day, that
Yeah.
scene with the Doctor, not the Doctor, but I forget the guy in the lab.
Constantine.
Constantine, yes.
Yeah.
When he changes,
Yeah, that's freaky.
like the way the skin changes into like
Yeah.
the black dye of the mask,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Yeah. It's vintage Stephen Moffat.
Fucked.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Standout side character. So, what qualifies as a side character? Not companions.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It can't be the villain either.
Okay.
These are characters that usually, and under most circumstances, they are one-off.
Yeah.
And usually the standout side character is someone like that you is not necessarily talked about a lot or remembered well, but you really liked.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here are there's 26 suggestions for this season
Yeah.
because there was a lot of side characters. So the first one is Clive from Rose.
Yeah.
And then from End of the World, we've got Jabe, the tree lady.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then from The Unquiet Dead, we've got Mr. Sneed. We've got Gwyneth. We've got
Mr. Sneed.
Yeah. We've got Gwyneth and Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
And Charles Dickens.
Yep.
And then then we got Harriet Jones. And Goddard. Goddard is. Oh shit! Was that from? No, Goddard's from Dalek. Goddard's the woman from Dalek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we've also got from the long game, we've got Kathika, Suki, that weird nurse, and Adam's mum. And then from Father's Day, we've got the Hoskins family, the ones that were getting married and stuff, like the dad, the husband, and the wife.
I think I know what is now. Keep going.
Well, I honestly haven't decided yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't decided.
But if the one I think...
And then from The Empty Child, we've got Nancy, Mr. and Mrs. Lloyd, the kids, and Dr. Constantine. And then from Boomtown, we've got Mr. Cleaver, and Idris Hopper, and Kathy.
Is Kathy the journalist?
Yeah. And then from Bad Wolf, Departing in the Ways, we've got Linda, Roderick, the android, Trini and Susanna, and the controller. So do you want to go first, Jake?
Yep, give me a sec.
I actually haven't decided yet.
I just need to look through that list again, just so... There's Charles Dickens, Goddard.
Wait, so you didn't include Pete?
He's not a side character, he's a companion.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's fair enough.
I was tossing up on it, but I decided not to.
Because he's like the main focal point of that episode, he's not really a side character.
Yeah. I decided that Pete was a companion.
Okay.
Alright.
Can I look through it as well?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, Jesus.
You want to go
I
first?
think I've already forgotten her name, but from End of the World, which is actually
Jade.
Yeah, I won't say where that ranks in my episodes because we'll get to that later. But I think she's probably going to be my pick because not only, like, she...
Yeah, no, I'm just...
she's just... Of all those side characters, she's the one that sticks out in my head, not just because of her cool design, but I distinctly remember her holding the lever down and actually... Like, her meeting with the doctor, and the doctor gifts her oxygen and stuff, and she has this nice back and forth with the doctor, and she plays a part in the actual story beyond just exposition or whatever, though she does have a little bit of exposition. I think she's probably my pick, and she also has a really cool design. I like the tree people, even though they look a bit like talking asparaguses.
That's totally fair enough. I can get behind that. That's great description. Have you decided?
The thing is, I want to pick Mr. Sneed just because I enjoyed him so much.
He was so Welsh.
Yeah, and like, there was that one line at the start of it that I remember just cracking up at, but I can't remember it now. But I don't want to pick a character just because I found them funny.
If you can't think of anyone else, then picking Mr. Sneed's fine. You could have any reason.
Well,
but you have to consider all the options.
Well, yeah. Hold on. Give me a list.
Okay.
Because the names are different.
I've just changed mine.
Have you changed your mind?
I've just changed my mind.
So
it's got to be Harriet Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna.
It's got to be.
God damn it! I was gonna.
Yeah.
I was about to say like Harriet Jones.
See, the thing is, you're tossing up between Mr. Sneed and Harriet Jones. You're tossing up between Jabe and Harriet Jones,
so
and I'm tossing up between Clive and Harriet Jones.
But there's one common denominator between the three.
It's Harriet Jones.
Yeah, it's got to be Harriet.
It has to be.
Yeah, and I can get behind you on Clive as well because he's such a crucial part to Rose.
And he's so small, but you remember him.
Yeah. But I think Harriet Jones represents humanity.
Yeah.
And she was just
perseverance. What's the fuck?
Perseverance.
That's it.
And also, she also feeds into that RTD humor that I love.
Yeah.
She's hilarious.
I think I'm gonna go Harriet Jones.
Yeah, I think we have to. With honourable mentions to the other three.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mr. Sneed just because he's funny.
Yeah, he was funny. Very well.
And Charles Dickens was pretty cool.
Yeah. This one's gonna be maybe a bit harder. I'm not sure. I'm definitely tossing up between a few on this one. It's the standout music track.
Whoa.
Now, unfortunately, not all of our episodes showcase a lot of it for you, Jake. But I'm sure you can decide on something. So here are the contenders. We've got Westminster Bridge from Rose. So that was this. You probably don't remember it, but it's the music that plays at the very beginning when she's going to work.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And then we've got the Doctor's theme, which played all throughout the season.
See, I'm just gonna go with the one that resonated with me the most, and the one that I remember the most. So I know what it is.
Okay.
But keep going.
Okay. I'm just gonna read through all of them just in case. So the Doctor's theme is the one that plays through it all out, and it's the one that's attached to Eccleston. They play it in the first episode, and they play it in End of the World when he's going through the fans.
Yes, yeah.
But the one scene that I always remember the Doctor's theme from is the Parting of the Ways when he's taking the TARDIS energy from Rose,
yeah.
Time Vortex. That's what I remember that song for. Cassandra's Waltz from End of the World, basically just her theme. Slovene, which was from Aliens of London when the ship's like crashing into Big Ben. That's a really good song. Father's Day, fantastic. The Boomtown Suite, which was a lot of people, like critics, really liked Boomtown Suite. I'm Coming to Get You is from the cliffhanger from Bad Wolf. Hologram is when the Doctor's telling Rose to have a good life. Rose defeats the Daleks is at the end of the Parting of the Ways. Rose's theme plays in, I think it plays in the first episode, I'm sure, and I think maybe one other. I don't think they play it as often as you'd think. No. But I think they play it more in other episodes.
Yeah, I want to say it's in it might be in The Unquiet Dead randomly. I think.
No, hang on. I remember what it was. So the one thing that I always liked about the soundtrack is the way that the two themes, Father's Day and Rose's theme, connected. Yes. They did that really well, I think. Yeah, and then also The Lone Dalek, which you said was like a story. You had a really good breakdown of that one. Then the Daleks, which was that really intense, like hype, really epic. And then one theme that's unreleased. I did this specially for you just in case, because I know you really liked it. And that's the theme from the very beginning of Aliens of London called A Whole Year. I think I included that just because I think in the review we made a big note of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, what's your pick?
Mine's the Dalek.
The Lone Dalek?
The Lone Dalek. Yep. And that's because I just thought it was a brilliant musical story. And when you mentioned Father's Day again, I remembered how much I liked that as well. Because again, it was like pure emotion with that track. But I'm going to have to go for the Lone Dalek because it was just sublime music writing and music storytelling.
Oh yeah.
So yep, that's mine.
Awesome.
Mine's got to be the Daleks. I just think that theme perfectly encapsulates the.
It is awesome.
It's like there's
it's
like
epic.
it is epic. It's the fact that these, like, we had it in Dalek before that these guys were a big deal. Then suddenly there's millions of them, and that music perfectly sums it up. Where it's the perfect we're fucked music.
Yeah. I think it's the song that represents Doctor Who turning into Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
For better or for worse, but I think in this case it really works. Like I just that. I mean, for me at this point, having watched the show for so long, like that is burnt into my brain as like when I look at Golden Dalek, Bronze Daleks. Yeah. I think of that music, so it's got to be that theme.
I was really torn on this one because one of my absolute favorite songs is the Doctor's theme, but I can't pick it because this isn't about what I like to hear and listen to, because the Doctor's theme's nostalgia for me. But the best song from Series 1 for me, like the best story, is Father's Day.
I thought that would be it, yeah.
It just, when I hear it, I think of the story. Yeah. And it impresses me because it manages to do sort of a very low, quite emotional piano bit. And it also does a very uplifting bit that plays, I think, when the TARDIS is coming back or something.
Yeah.
And it's just got this really strange atmosphere to it. Like it's you can tell that they're out of sync with time.
It's almost ghostly.
Yeah, it's ghostly. It's very ghostly, and
like the fact that she's talking to her father, who should be dead.
And it's almost like Murray Gold is representing Pete Tyler's ghost when he's playing that music, and I have to give it to Father's Day.
Fair enough.
Even though I love the Doctor's theme, it doesn't have the complex story that Father's Day has. Yeah.
I think this might be another Strawpoll one.
Yeah. So let us know what your one is. I'm sure there's going to be people that pick ones that we didn't even mention.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Please do. I'd like to hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
But overall, I think we can all agree Murray Gold was fantastic.
For sure.
Yes.
Right. So the next one is the Standout Classic clip.
Hey.
So these are the ones we watched. just a reminder. We had the Autons invade from Spearhead from Space. We had the Underwater Menace trailer. We had the Ripple Effect from Remembrance of the Daleks. We had the Web Planet trailer. We had First Time Inside the TARDIS from An Unearthly Child. We had Barbara is trapped by a Dalek from The Daleks. We had Dalek flies up the stairs from Remembrance of the Daleks. We have Tegan leaves the TARDIS from Resurrection of the Daleks. We have Can't Rewrite History from the Aztecs. Mr. Oak and Mr. Quill from Fury from the Deep. Which box is bigger from the Robots of Death? Our lives are different from anybody else's from the Tomb of the Cybermen. The Doctor escapes an acid bath from Vengeance on Varos. And the First Doctor regenerates from the 10th planet.
Um,
I'll let you think about that one.
I've got them. So mine's which box is bigger?
Which box is bigger from Robots of
That's a
Death?
good one.
Yeah.
I just liked it because it just showed how puny the human mind was.
And it's the only one you watched with Tom Baker in it, which
Yeah.
Instantly makes it awesome.
Yeah, this is true.
It was a great
Magic,
it was a great psychological one.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you got nothing else to say on it?
Well, it was just a great psychological one,
Okay.
and I thought it was one that kind of just like I don't know. It was, like I liked all the other ones. I thought the acid bath one was great comedy.
Yeah.
And then one's like Can't Rewrite History and the Shoot to Coffee Shop one,
The Ripple Effect.
the Ripple Effect. That's it. All that's good lore and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But one that really I found like really just cool was the
Which box is bigger? Yeah.
That's fair.
It's the one you can watch outside of context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have one?
It would be that is so close. But just for me personally, I love the story of Remembrance of the Daleks. Like that whole, like it's not just my favorite Sylvester McCoy story. It's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories ever. And though the Ripple in Time, I think, is from Remembrance as well.
Yeah.
The Dalek going up the stairs is just superb. It's
classic.
It's one of my favorite cliffhangers in all of old and new Who. It's just perfect. And Sylvester McCoy's borderline overacting as the stalk comes closer and closer as it starts flying up the stairs, and he's shouting out for Ace, Ace, and she gets knocked down.
They put the camera inside the Dalek's
Yes,
eyes,
yeah.
technology
Yeah, and then.
Yeah.
And then the door gets locked and everything, and it's just like, oh, the Doctor's fucked.
So dramatic.
Yeah, so that one gets my vote.
I've sort of got. I know I say no ties, but I still got two answers. The first one's not my answer, though.
Okay.
Sorry,
It's
what?
an honourable mention.
The first one's not my answer. It's an honourable mention, and it's for an objective one, and that's the First Doctor regenerates.
Yes.
That is.
Oh, yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
best one, but it's not my
And
favorite.
it's probably also the most important one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is the biggest plot twist in the history of the show.
Yeah.
It is incredible, but it's not in terms of watching it as a clip. It's not, because obviously you need the entire of the 10th planet and the First Doctor's era behind it for it to have any context. But my favorite clip, I think, it's really hard. It's really hard to choose because there's so many good ones. I think I may have to go from for Our Lives Are Different from Anybody Else's
That's
from
good.
the Tomb of the Cybermen.
That's a special.
It's just one of those moments where the second Doctor he transitions the character from being an enigma to being this person you trust
Yes, yeah.
in one scene.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone watching like Patrick Troughton for the first time, I always say watch 2 Minutes of the Cybermen first.
Yeah.
Not only because it's a great story, but because of that scene where the character feels like it can sit down with you
Yes.
and say, you are special.
And it's also important in terms of, I would assume, people who are just like every regeneration, people usually hate them at first and then slowly take a while to warm up to them. That probably was a lot of people's turning point.
And also, I watched Evil of the Daleks recently, just before watching that clip, and seeing Tomb of the Cybermen, that clip, with context of what happens before it to Victoria's father, it puts a lot more depth to it for me. Obviously, that's very unique because obviously Jake wouldn't have that depth because he hasn't seen any of that.
Yep.
But
This is all gibberish to you.
I just kind of zoned out.
but even when I saw that before, I instantly love Patrick Troughton when
Yeah.
I see that scene.
It's-
So I have to pick that one, and I have to say my honourable mention for objective reasons is the First Doctor regenerates
Okay.
because it's a landmark.
But that Patrick Troughton speech is like can be compared to what's your name, by the way? Rose, Run for Your Life. It's it's his one of that where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you can trust this guy. We're in.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's got a bit more to it. Than
And also, it's also like if you watch the end of season 4 of Classic Who, the second Doctor, he's sort of figuring out his character a
Yeah.
bit, and he gets it towards the end. But I feel like starting the new season,
Yeah.
season 5, with that moment, it feels like he really became the
Yes,
Doctor. You
they
know what I mean?
figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to give it to that one.
Perfect.
Right. Standout worst thing in series 1. Don't say what it is yet. Don't say what it is yet, because we've got to give the suggestions a chance.
Okay.
So, this is not necessarily my opinion. This is suggestions I read online of what people think is bad about series 1.
For argument's sake.
For argument's sake, I don't think it's right necessarily, and I think we all know what the answer is already. But we'll give it a chance and we'll have a discussion. So we have 5 suggestions. The first one is the CGI.
No,
It's product of its time.
we'll discuss after.
Yeah.
Say them all.
Okay.
Yep.
The comedy. And then the next one is kind of the same. Farting aliens. British references. And Adam Mitchell.
So, farting aliens, completely subjective. I can get why people would hate that, but that is in a single or two. It's in a single story, and then you've got all this other brilliant stuff. The CGI, product of its time. That's just British television in 2005. That's fucking impressive for what they've got.
Yeah.
Comedy.
Yeah, the comedy, again, subjective. I don't mind most of the comedy. Some of it doesn't land for me, but most of the time it does.
British references.
British references, it's part of the show. That's the police box. Even out of time. That's a specific British thing.
The one that gets people a lot is the Cardiff references.
Yeah.
Like, you know when they say, "Oh, we're in Cardiff."
Yeah.
Like, no one knows what that means.
But
Yeah.
I get that, but it's also like part of the show's spirit. Like, had you removed the Britishness from Doctor Who, then it's not Doctor Who.
Exactly.
And then the reason why Adam Mitchell is the worst fucking thing is because the episode where the focus is on him is boring. He just slows the pace down, and I can't say too much because we're not ranking the episodes yet. But I very much like Dalek, and the only reason I don't give it a perfect score is because of him and his out of place. This is by no fault of Murray Gold, but when it shifts from the Doctor and the Dalek and Staten, and it goes over to Rose and Adam flirting in the weapons room, the music changes, and it's the most out of nowhere fuckery, and I just cannot stand it. But luckily the rest of the episode is brilliant. But yes, that is why Adam Mitchell is the worst fucking thing of series 1.
Okay, your turn.
I agree. All of those other things on that list are stylistic things. It's
Even the farting aliens.
I mean that's just people. That's just people's opinions.
British references.
British references, like you said, the show's British.
Yeah.
You can't take you can't take the British away from a British
As
show.
long as it's not
But it's just a
overdone.
show.
As long
Yeah.
as it doesn't take over the story.
I think the rest of that is like CGI is just this is what they were just working with what they had, and in all honesty, it's way better than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
And
Do you have anything else that you think is worse than Adam Mitchell from this season? Like an outside suggestion, because I am open to that.
in all honesty, the only thing that I can comment on is the color grading. Sometimes the coloring of it is just
It was very whitewashed for some of it.
it was very whitewashed. Some of it just had a weird glow, and for me, just this is completely subjective and like my personal preference. I just did not like how glistening, it just looked too like clean and gleaming and sparkly.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I wish it was more grungy and like darker and
So like the way it was in The Empty Child, the Doctor Dances.
Yeah. Exactly like that.
That was noticeably different color
Yeah.
grading to the rest.
Yeah. The one other sort of, this is such a small thing, and it doesn't even bother me that much, and because like Murray Gold had been working his ass off for this season, and it's just him and his computer, so this is by no fault of Murray Gold, but this is a personal preference. I don't like the music that plays while Christopher Eccleston regenerates.
Oh, really?
I don't like it, no. It feels like...
Oh, actually, I do see what
the way it sort of gets... like, the beginning part of it, as he starts explaining regeneration, and, like, Rose is sad, and he's like, no, stay back. It's fine, but it's just before he fully... like, you start hearing the bubbling noise, like, the boiling noises, and it starts going twinkly. Yeah. There's something about it being twinkly that I don't quite like. I get the fact that he's accepting he's regenerating and he's smiling and he's happy, but I just felt like it was just slightly mismatched. But again, this is such a minor nitpick.
Adam Mitchell,
no, it's not worse than Adam Mitchell. No, and
No way.
me just criticizing this is no fault of Murray Gold. I adore the man, and I think part of the reason the show is so successful is because of Murray Gold.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
and to finalize, Adam Mitchell's the same for me.
yeah.
The only reason everything else doesn't affect the plot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All those other problems that people have don't. Well, maybe fighting aliens affects the plot for some people, but for me, Adam Mitchell affected the plot for me. He slowed everything down where it wasn't necessary. Fucked the tone up on the episode, and I don't know, it didn't need him.
Yeah. So I like unlikable characters. So I do hate Adam
unlikable.
Mitchell, but I don't think he's as unnecessary as I think you two think he is. But he is the worst thing about Series 1, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And there is no such thing as a perfect season of Doctor Who, in my opinion.
Nope.
Series 1 might be my favourite ever.
It's not mine,
But Adam
Mitchell
Mitchell is the worst thing in it.
Yes.
And if he wasn't in it, it would probably be an even better season.
Oh no, it wouldn't probably. It would definitely be a better season.
So I think we can agree on that, but you guys can vote in the straw poll.
Just vote correctly.
Gee, that's propaganda if I've ever seen it. Oh dear. Okay. This one's going to be a bit more of a quick one because we haven't actually got like all of them done at this point in time of recording. Mm-hmm. What was the best thumbnail?
I have one.
Okay, go.
The Doctor Dances.
Oh,
You writing him as a bomb.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite as well.
um,
The other one I would like is was it World War 3 or was it? It was World War 3 where it had us three.
Yeah, and you
as
removed my
theme.
eyebrows.
Yeah, I think either that one or I just like the really fucked up ones.
I have to go with the long game, where you're the nurse and I'm Adam.
That's right.
That was just. But I have a story to tell about the Doctor Dances one though. I spent about half an hour trying to fit my face onto Jack, and then I realized my face wasn't meant for Jack. It was meant for the bomb. Oh boy. Oh god. Good time.
That would be a good one for you guys to vote for, though.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Because by the time that this comes out, you'll have all the thumbnails for
I
Series
think
1.
for us, what the Doctor Dances just came out.
Yeah, Doctor
For
Dances
us?
was the last one.
Yeah.
A
So
little hint behind the scenes.
we're 3 behind.
Yeah. Do we have to discuss anything before we do the rankings?
Nah, I think we've pretty much covered it. Yeah.
So here are the rules. Obviously, no ties.
Yep.
Two-parters are separated into 45-minute episodes. Well, not 45 minutes necessarily for every episode, but like singular episodes, no two-parters together. So there's no ties. This is our opinion, which means
no ties.
no ties.
So each one has to have a different number.
Yep.
You can't have any ties
Okay.
under any... So it has to be 1 to 13 with no ties.
What the fuck?
Yep.
All right.
What we're going to be doing is we're going to do one at a time. We're going to do like, it's going to be 13 to 1. So like basically you'll read your 13 or whoever starts, you 13, 13, 13.
Yeah.
If someone reads their number, like the one that they have on their number, and then someone else has the same one, you say snap and you'd like discuss it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So say for example, if we all had the same 13, we'd say snap.
Why
We'd
is
all
it?
3 of us like talk about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so basically 13, 13, 13, 12, 12, 12. You know, you get the idea until we get to number 1. And yeah, I think this is going to be very interesting. So I don't know. Should we start with Jake or should we?
Yeah, I think we'll start with Jake.
We'll start with Jake.
You are the star of the show. After
You are the star of the show. Let's start with you. What's your number 13?
The long game.
Snap.
Yeah.
Thought so.
Yeah.
That's interesting because originally your least favorite was The Unquiet Dead.
Well, I think I said it in our review as well.
No, in your review you said you preferred The Long Game.
Ah. Well, it's changed. I think.
Yeah,
I think it's because of the rift.
Yes.
And Unquiet Dead, even though it is quite poorly paced, there's stuff with it that sticks with you.
Yeah.
Whereas Long Game, there's just other than the design of the Jaguar Face and
Yeah.
how annoying Adam is. There's
Didn't
nothing.
we all give it a 6?
I think
You gave it a 6. You gave it a 6. The Long Game.
Yeah, 6.
I gave it a 5.5.
I think it's
okay.
because of Simon Pegg that I liked it.
Yeah.
The reason, 5.5, I think it's a good idea that was just
Poorly executed.
terribly executed.
Yeah.
Mm.
So 5.5.
Yeah.
There's
It's-
enough. The production design's great. Simon Pegg's charismatic. The Doctor is great as always.
It's funny though how two of my least favorite episodes introduced two of the most important
Yes.
story things.
Yeah,
story
Satellite 5.
elements.
Satellite 5 and the Rift, yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
my personal favorite Doctor Who writer is Russell T Davies, but this is one of his weakest.
Oh, it is. Yeah, for
But
sure.
I do think that he had a case for having the long game in it, though.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
even in its title, setting stuff up, but you can't just have an episode that's purely set up without its own story. And the setup stuff is fine. There's no problem with that. It's purely just the story that goes with the setup.
Yeah.
It's kind of lame.
But I do think there's something to be said about the worst episode in Series 1 being a 6 or a 5.5.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's still it's a decent episode, just
Yeah.
heavily flawed.
If the long... I shouldn't say, but if the long game was somewhere else, it might be pretty good.
Yeah, if it was compared
If
to
it was
the other
something else,
episodes,
if it was somewhere else.
Yes.
Let's
We'll get to
not
that.
say
We'll get to
say
that.
where, but right. So seeing as you went that time, I'll go this time. Number 12, The Unquiet Dead. Snap. You're not snapping?
Not snapping.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I gave Unquiet Dead a 6.5. I think I do agree with you in that it does feel like a filler, and a lot of that has to do with Mark Gatiss as a writer.
Yeah.
He's not an overwhelming writer. He's a very low-key writer.
Yeah.
In saying that, I don't actually think it has anything bad about it either.
It's
I think
just-
The Unquiet Dead is actually quite a nice episode to have.
I think. Yeah, I agree. I still think it's a good episode. I just
Yeah.
think that the pacing was a bit off.
Yeah.
It was.
And the story was just a bit underwhelming
Yeah.
for me.
I
It's
can,
just, yeah.
I can also see why it's actually one of the favorites for classic fans, because it feels like Classic Who watching
Yeah,
Unquiet
it's
Dead.
just like a classic Who story that
Yeah.
was supposed to be 3 parts or 4 parts
Yeah.
condensed to one.
It reminds me of something like Image of the Fendal, where it doesn't feel like it doesn't have a lot of stakes, but it's got a cool sort of thing going on.
It's got a vibe.
Yeah,
It's got
Yeah.
I like the tone.
it was
of
very season 15, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Unquiet Dead, which I have in this place, but
Mm.
I'll just talk about it now as opposed to when I get to it.
But as a state of reference of time, it's actually one of Mark Gatiss' stronger ones, that's not very good, is it?
No, but the thing is, I do think it's a good episode, and I forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays Charles Dickens,
Simon Callow.
I find him very charismatic
Yes, very
as
good.
the role, and he's very likable. Eccleston and Piper are very
Yeah.
good in it as well.
It also blows me away how much this episode sets up for the rest of the show for the next 6 seasons.
and other things as well.
Yeah.
that we can't divulge yet.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Oh, and I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, Rift. I did like the Rift after all.
Oh, yeah,
Which is why it's one
Yes.
higher than the long game.
Yeah.
And saying that, I still
The
do like
Rift
Satellite
does a
5.
lot,
Yes,
doesn't
the
it?
Rift, the Rift, yes. Oh,
Yes.
boy.
Oh boy. So you're number 12.
11.
No, he hasn't made it as 12.
Oh.
So my number 12 is The End of the World.
Okay, that, even though we don't agree, that is a popular opinion to have End of the
Yeah.
World near the bottom. It's
I-
not a popular episode.
No, again, it's one of these episodes that has a really neat idea, and a few really cool set pieces, and I love seeing all the different creatures in the face of Bo. I love the face of Bo so much. It's just, there's nothing. It doesn't do anything for me. Like, I never really skip episodes if I'm binging, but like, if I had to skip an episode in the season other than, the long game, because fuck Adam Mitchell, I would skip this one just because End of the World is a solid episode, but it doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
You know what was the most interesting thing for me hearing you say that is how much you liked Jabe.
Yeah, well, I think as a side character, especially in the first season before we gotten so many other side characters later on, I liked her design. I think is really cool. But also it's just she does stuff, like she actually is involved in the story. Yeah. And she has a personality, which sometimes side characters don't. And I don't dislike the episode. It's a nothing episode for me. Again, it's a 6 out of 10, which is very, very well made and solid, but just...
I think I did describe the long game as End of the World 2.0.
Yeah.
But it's got less going on.
Yeah.
Less humor.
Yeah, and it's also kind of weirdly nihilistic.
Yeah.
Especially for the second episode out of the gate.
Okay, well, we'll get onto that when we get up to it.
Yeah.
Do you want to read out your number 11?
No.
We're sweeping this way.
Okay. End of the World.
Ah, okay. So, going off what he said.
Going off what I said?
Yeah.
Now, whilst I was sitting there doing this, I was thinking, the way I was thinking was, what had the biggest impact on me after the fact of finishing the series? And The End of the World was great when I watched it, because I didn't know much about the Doctor, and I didn't know much about Rose.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why it had an impact on me when I watched it, because it was a great learning thing, and I learned about all these new races and these new characters and new things and things that could happen. But it just kind of was like a big tease.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you could see where all these things come from and all these different flavors and stuff, and you can taste them if you want, but you're not going to have it this series. But you can have some other stuff that's actually really good, though.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It was, it's a solid episode. At the end of the day, it's just kind of it was more of a fillery episode.
It doesn't have a lasting impact beyond the imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still some cool stuff though, with like the Doctor having that relationship with the tree lady and stuff. Good character development, but other than that, that's why.
Cool. This one might surprise you a little bit. My number 11 is World War 3. I have actually stated before that I really like this episode.
You have.
But I've also stated that I love this season.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of I couldn't really rank it any higher than where it was. It's not as good as Aliens of London, but I still enjoy watching it. That's the point I'm trying to make with World War 3. I think it's a very funny episode. And I like the conclusion. I think it's very typical, but I like it. I like the way it resolves itself, and it's just a fun ride. I like sometimes just to sit down and enjoy what I'm watching. And with World War 3, I really enjoy World War 3. So I couldn't rank it lower than the other two, because I just feel like I just enjoy watching it more than The Long Game and The Unquiet Dead.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's why it's my number 11. So what's your number 11?
My number 11 is The Unquiet Dead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And then want me to go to my number 10?
No.
Okay. Yeah, well, number 11 is The Unquiet Dead, which, as you guys were saying, it's a bit of a nothing episode. It's got I really like the atmospheres.
Yes.
It's dripping with atmosphere.
It teases a bit of the empty child.
Yes.
Early on. It's like, this is what you're going to get later on.
And like, ever since first, when I watched this as it aired, it was the first episode to scare me as a child, is that image of the ghost lady in the audience.
Ah, yeah.
There was something about it that I was probably 6 years old when it aired, it just really, that image stuck with me. So purely for the atmosphere, it's above End of the World and The Long Game, but it is again on that same level where it's a good idea that's just a bit naff in execution.
I think that a lot of that comes down to the style that you're into.
Yes,
You-
absolutely.
You
'Cause
love
I'm big into gothic horror. And
you love gothic horror and you love theatre as well.
Yes.
Which will I will be interested to hear your opinion on another episode that has to do with theatre, if you remember what I'm talking about.
I already know what you mean, and I do love that episode.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting when we get to it, but that's for another day. What is your number 10, Jake?
My number 10 is World War 3.
Snap!
Snap? Oh,
Yeah.
snap. For me...
You know that's funny because you guys rated it lower than me, yet I rank it lower.
That's interesting.
Like you guys give it a lower rating at the end of the episode, but I rank it lower on my list.
Yeah. For me, it was a good episode, and I did enjoy it, but it was just a bit of a lackluster ending for such a strong part 1.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of why it let me down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
it was your first experience with a two-parter, and sometimes that can be you're not sure what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt like the whole episode was an Act 3, which should not be what a second part should be.
Yeah.
It should be the second half.
Should be the second half, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, World War 3, the reason why it's higher than the other ones is...
Mike.
The other reason why it's higher than the other episodes is because it continues a story which I quite like, which from the previous one. So it's hard to completely separate these two episodes. But like what they do with the side characters, Mickey, Jackie, Harriet Jones. I love Harriet Jones. And just everything like that, which is I just gives it a notch above those other episodes where I think this one is a good episode with a good execution. It's just not great.
Yeah.
It's really, really fun and entertaining, and as I said in the review, I think I'm never bored when I'm watching it. I'm super engaged and I love it, but...
And I'll just make a little note, because I already did talk about it. That is something for me that is maybe more important than other people.
Yeah.
Because I have attention deficit disorder, and I have to be interested in what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm just going to turn off.
Yeah, for me, it takes... Like, I can deal with slow burn things, but in this case, that was never a problem. Even in the first part, it just carried through. The momentum that the last one ended on carried through the whole way, almost sort of to the detriment of World War 3 in a little way.
Yeah.
And that is a Russell T Davies stereotype. He loves doing that with his stories. Yes. Right, so my number 10 is Boomtown. I was really tempted to rank this higher, but I'll have to just say later why I ranked something else higher. But I still think Boomtown's very good.
Yep.
Very, very good dialogue.
Underrated.
Underrated for sure. Just that scene with Christopher Eccleston and the Margaret Lisledine.
Yes.
That is a great scene. And obviously, like we said, the story between Rose and Mickey, and then Captain Jack becoming a good guy. I love Boomtown. Not the best episode of all time, but I think it's really underrated.
It's sort of like the perfect calm before the storm.
Yeah, and there's some absolute shitfest later on in Doctor Who that's worse than Boomtown, that's ranked above it on DWM. So, fucking, I don't know what to say about that yet, but
We'll get to that.
that's why Boomtown's underrated, and that's why it's my number 10.
Yep, cool.
So now back to Jake again, right?
No, it should be.
No, we've all done our 10, haven't we? We've all done number 10
Yeah.
because his was
okay.
World War 3.
Right.
So what's your number 9?
The Doctor dances.
Ooh! Ooh!
So this is good. So this is
holy shit! That's one of the most popular episodes of all time.
So this is gonna be controversial, and I know it is because I don't know what it is, but it just didn't resonate with me.
the Hollywood.
Yeah, and it's just, although I
You gave it a 9 out of 10 when you ranked it.
yeah, but there's just other. It's still really good.
Yeah.
But there's just other things that I just like better.
Fair enough.
Ah, okay.
And although at the time of rating something, not ranking, I might be in a different way. But when I come
You've
to
just come off the episode.
Yeah.
That's why the group rankings is going to be very interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now back to what you said.
Yeah, it's just something about it that it just was forgettable for me, and
Wow.
not forgettable. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
No, keep talking. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Not forgettable, but like not as impressionable as other episodes.
When I was a kid, I felt the same way though about the Doctor Dancers. But I've grown to love that episode now. But I do see what you mean. When I was a kid, I thought The Empty Child was a very iconic episode, and I thought the Doctor Dancers was very.
Yeah.
I always, even as a kid, just loved the way that it wrapped up and the fact that it was all just a big misunderstanding, which is incredibly Hollywood. But after seeing this Doctor so fucked over for the rest of the season, it was just so uplifting and nice. Yeah. And also, retrospectively, it's a nice point before everything goes to shit again at the end.
It might just be me being fucking...
I think I did state in a comment that you are very art house, and you don't like Hollywood.
And it also might just be me being a pessimist and just...
You're just being a fucking Australian.
No, alright. Not being optimistic.
That's the... Series 1, it was Americans. Now Series 2, it's Australians.
I'm also Australian.
Oh, shit, sorry.
I'm not even Australian.
That's the funny thing. Well, you just blew us out of the park. I thought my next opinion was going to be controversial.
Yeah.
But I think you've just left me in a place where my one's not even going to be that bad now. I'm going to have to apologise to you, buddy. But my number 9 is Aliens of London.
That's alright. Because
it is a very good episode. But, like you said with, in regards to, I think it was... was it World War 3 or something? Was it World War 3 or The Unquiet Dead or something? You said you just like other Doctor Who better? Well, it was one of those episodes just before you were saying...
I think it was The Unquiet Dead.
Yeah, The Unquiet Dead. You said you like The Unquiet Dead, but you just prefer other episodes?
Yeah.
So...
No, it was End of the World.
End of the World, yeah. So I will adamantly defend the Slitheen two-parter because I think it's really underrated. And same thing with Boomtown. All the Slitheen episodes are underrated. But... I don't think I can actually say I think it's better than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But one thing I will say about Aliens of London is that viewing I had with you was the best viewing I've ever had of that one episode. Because I was just so blown away at how much of a different perspective I got on it that time. And I don't know what it was, but for some reason, maybe it was just the fact that I was watching it on a big screen or just the idea that we were watching it on YouTube. I don't know what it was. But watching that episode this time, I got a completely different view on it. And that's why I ranked it above Boomtown.
Yeah.
Originally, I had Boomtown above Aliens of London, but I think after this viewing, I had to change my mind. So, yeah, my number 9 is Aliens of London, a very, very good episode. Mm-hmm. Did you read out your number 9?
I don't know. I don't think I have yet.
Okay. What's your number 9, Adam?
My number 9 is Boomtown.
Wow.
Yeah. I rated this episode a 7 out of 10. I think it is very good, but it gets a lot of flack online. People are I found when I read up about it, people are very dismissive of it. When I find the sort of all the interpersonal stuff, minus the way Rose is written, but her circumstances... The circumstances around Rose are really interesting, and Mickey himself is so captivating in that episode. Rose's writing, she's very selfish and like one of her weakest examples of her writing. But everything else, and
I just had a thought.
Yes.
I think Boomtown is like Torchwood.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it.
It's underrated because it's like Torchwood.
It's because it's very sort of different. It's literally a pit stop. It is literally a pit stop episode. It's just to recharge the batteries before everything gets into the full swing before the final.
That's what the entire plot was anyway.
Yeah, So it's metaphorically and literally a pit stop. But that being said, I think it's a fucking good one. That being said, it is only number 9 on my ranking because I like other episodes.
And I think the most impressive thing is that the fact that Russell T Davies wrote that at the last minute and they shot it months before the series aired.
Yeah, the behind the scenes is almost as fascinating as the episode itself. But yeah, I'm big on Boomtown, but it's my number 9.
Okay. Right. So, are you going to shock us again with your number 8?
My number 8, I think I am going to shock you again.
Oh,
because it's The Empty Child.
Oh! Oh my god.
I think that one hurts even more.
All that stung.
I think just because I thought that you would love The Empty Child.
I did not love it. It's just this. My personal taste is very. I would say it's very different to people that would watch other TV and then come to this TV, and that's simply because I don't. There's just something about it that like I don't know what it was, but it.
Do you think it's Moffat?
Could be.
It might be Moffat.
Yeah, it might be.
Which
that.
worries me.
Yeah.
Because he's written more Doctor Who than anyone else.
Really?
Yes.
Yep.
And this is one of his best stories.
I don't know. Just something about the story just didn't do it for me. Like, well, I mean, I still enjoyed it, but there's just other things that I thought were better. And
Okay.
it's it's the most popular two-parter, right?
Of the new series.
Of the new series.
Yeah.
It's probably, in terms of a two-parter, at the moment, my least favorite.
Whoa. Whoa.
So,
You've
yeah.
changed a lot in the last few weeks.
Not really.
No, just based off what you said in the videos, I'm just saying. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Because now coming to the definitive rankings, not being able to have ties.
And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, wow.
I think it's more just I didn't like the Hollywood of it.
Yeah.
And the big bombastic fucking characters and the I don't know what it was. It was just so like big and
Yeah.
and too obnoxious and
Yeah.
and I
And it
could
literally ends on a dance.
exactly.
Well, actually, sorry, no, it doesn't. I'm thinking Dr. Dances, but that whole story does.
Yeah. Although the villain is my favorite villain, and
Is that why you picked Empty Child over the Doctor Dances?
Yes.
It has more of a
Because it's
presence.
and because it's I like how darker and grittier it is.
Yes.
The unquiet child, the
Doctor Dances.
the empty child, sorry, is so gritty and like and just like ugh!
Yeah, it's like you're walking through mud and bare feet.
Makes me want to grip my
Yeah.
teeth. It made me want to
Yeah.
grip my teeth when I was watching it. But that's not necessarily something that's gonna sell me.
You're going to go for story over style, aren't
Yeah.
you? And I can respect that because a lot of people do the opposite.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm going to get angry in a few months.
Just you guys wait.
So that was your number 8?
8.
8?
Yeah.
Okay. My number 8 is The End of the World.
Wow, that's quite high up there.
It's very high, isn't it? Similar to World War III, it's one of those ones I really enjoy watching. But I think this one is underrated for Christopher Eccleston mainly. I think Christopher Eccleston in End of the World shows more emotion than the Doctor has shown ever before this. And I really connect with his character in this one. The journey he goes through, like, he starts off all chipper and he's dancing about with the aliens. Then there's that scene where Rose is all freaked out and she goes into that room and she confronts him about it and he gets really emotional.
Yeah.
If you notice, like, she asks him who he is and where he's from, he walks away from her.
Yeah.
Then there's also the scene where Jade puts her hand on his arm and she says, "I know what happened to your people," and he starts tearing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the scene at the end where he saves her, or not saves her, he saves the ship.
Yeah.
But like, and then he like goes into God mode and walks through the fan. I also love the face of Bo,
Oh, who doesn't?
and I actually do like Cassandra as a character.
I do too. I did
Yeah.
mention that when I
I
do
like-
like Cassandra.
I like that scene where Rose calls her a bitchy trampoline.
Yeah.
And there's also some small little bits in there like that just make me
Oxygen.
absolutely fucking crack up. In
Like
the, end of
the
world.
like the dude, the fucking the blue
guy.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's like the repeated meme, and there's like those really over the top scenes with the blue steward and hosts, and oh my god, I just there's something about End of the World. I think it must be RTD that really clicks for me.
It's got a lot of imagination behind it.
Look, it's not the best plot in the world, I'll admit that, but there's just something about it, especially for Christopher Eccleston, that makes me love The End of the World.
Yeah.
And that's why it's my number 8. So, what's your number 8, Adam?
My number 8 is The Aliens of London.
Ooh.
Because I think it is better than both Boomtown and World War III, because, as we were saying, they come back 1 year later and showing the pure, like, you could make a whole episode based around the coming back 1 year later and seeing the ramifications of what happens when a companion just disappears. I find that captivating, and that's just the pre-credits roll, essentially. And then obviously all the stuff with the intrigue and the pig and the tone, which is a little all over the place, but I think, other than the sort of the fighting aliens, is really well handled. I just think Aliens of London is way more captivating than the other parts and some of the other episodes. Again, same thing with World War III. It's just incredibly entertaining, and I'm never bored with it. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Also, there was one other thing I wanted to say about End of the World, is that very last scene.
Yes.
So the world's blown up, and the Doctor is saying, ashes and dust, it's all gone.
Yeah.
My planet's gone.
Yeah.
And we get that whole backstory about him losing his people.
Yeah, which is brilliant thing.
Oh, and I love the contrast of when Rose has seen the world end and then he takes her back in time to when it's still alive.
Yeah.
It's just such a mind fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. There's some great stuff.
Okay. Whew. Right. What's your number 7, Jake?
My number 7 is Boomtown.
Ooh.
So,
higher than both of us.
Ooh.
the reason I like Boomtown so much is because, I don't know why, but I really like psychologically deep things. Something that really just like makes a character question its own morals, and that's exactly what happened in Boomtown. Like, you really question the morals behind the Doctor.
He sees himself in Margaret almost. I reckon.
Yeah.
Like, not Margaret. Is it Margaret?
Yes,
Martha?
Margaret. Margaret.
Yeah. He it's like they're sort of holding a mirror to each other. Like, she sees the good in herself through him, and he sees the bad in himself through her. Almost. It's just really cool.
I thought some of the dialogue was sublime as well. Definitely one of the most like edgiest dialogue scenes that was in this series. And then there's things like the TARDIS, seeing the heart of the TARDIS. That was fucking awesome lore for me. Like that. Probably that was one of the main reasons I liked that episode so much. Was just
I think the one thing you have to make clear right now to the viewers is, why is Boomtown better than The Empty Child, The Doctor Dances? Because that is the one thing that they're going to be really outraged about.
Simply personal taste. Simply because I prefer a psychologically deep story over something like The Empty Child, where it's more of a crimey detective.
Yeah, whereas there's a mystery to unravel as opposed to them just being focused on the characters. Yeah.
Like the whole idea of The Empty Child is he's trying to figure out why these things have gas masks on their face. Yeah. Whereas for Boomtown, it's questioning his inner motives and his whole person to a core. And to me, that's something that's more impactful in a story than solving a mystery.
Well said. Yeah. Well said. Bravo. So, that is some hipster shit.
Sorry. Don't hate me. It's
because you do like The Empty Child, The Doctor Dances.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just simply personal taste.
Yeah. Well said.
And if you've ever seen something that I've written, or a short film I've made, or just anything that I've made creatively,
music,
you will see that theme in the things that I've made. So
cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to just check the camera?
Sure.
Before we get to our number 7.
So my number 7.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. We're getting to the big ones now. From now on, these are episodes that I consider to be my personal favourites. And these are the episodes that make Series 1 for me. Yeah. My number 7 is Rose.
Snap!
Hey!
Wait, never mind.
I guess we know what his number 6 is.
Sorry.
Spoilers.
I just lost my mind.
Our number 7 is Rose.
Yes.
The introduction to the new series.
Yep.
Sounds like you got a lot to say. Why don't you start?
Okay, so as a whole, in terms of if this episode happened in the middle, like if this episode was series 2's introduction, we had a different companion, and this was just the reintroduction of the Doctor and a new companion, it wouldn't work nearly as well. But the show hadn't been seen for about 9 years at this point, I think.
Well,
since the TV movie is what I'm thinking of. But even longer if you look past that, since it was in proper syndication. And this introduced the faster pace, the new slightly grungier style, the new Murray Gold music, how it was completely different, but at its core was essentially the same thing. The fact that the Doctor's first words were basically "run," and that kind of thing. It's just, I find it so amazing how well it just from the get out just sets tone, and it has all those classic Who beats of someone wandering around not knowing that there's something right there, then suddenly there's the enemy, there's the Autons moving, and it's like, is this some kind of joke? And then the Doctor comes and saves her, and he says, run for your life with the dynamite. It's just so energetic, and those are like the first 10 minutes. And then the story itself, as I said, is fine, whatever, but the fact that was the first one back, and it was so engaging and so entertaining, and brought back an old enemy that wasn't like of the caliber of the Daleks or some other enemies. It made people who were coming back feel like, okay, there's something here, and people who had never seen the show before get super sucked in, and it gave you an understanding of the characters, this new Doctor who's very mysterious, especially because the whole Clive thing, he's been around, and then the new design of the TARDIS, just the new attitude of the show, it perfectly summed it up with this one episode.
Yeah. I mean, I there's so many reasons why I love Rose, and I could go on about it all day. It's one of those episodes where I love every scene. Yeah. It's from start to finish, it's an absolute ball. From Billie Piper's performance as this relatable young girl to the scariness of the Autons. I'm not as scary as Spear from Space, obviously, but still bringing back this classic villain that really represents what Doctor Who is about. It's taking something that's ordinary and making it scary. Yeah. From Clive being this internet nerd researching up on the Doctor.
He's the fans waiting for the comeback.
From Jackie wanting a shag from Christopher Eccleston and him just being like, oh, nope. And then from just the absolute, the lore behind this episode as well, the way it connects him with the universe. There's some great direction. There's a scene that goes on for about 2 minutes, which is one reverse track. Oh, yes, Rose and the Doctor walking through that parking alley. Yeah. There is just so much I love about Rose, and there was nothing I would change about it. I think it's a perfect intro to us to the new series. Yeah. And I can see why some people don't like it, maybe for the comedy or for the CGI or whatever. But stylistically, it is of my time, and I love Rose.
Yeah. I give Rose a 7.8. I think it's...
I give it a 9.
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I adore Rose, but I can see it for its flaws. However, its flaws don't bother me because of how important and how successful it is at doing what it is, what it had to do right. It gets so right. There are just other flaws around it which don't necessarily bother me, but I am aware of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. So your number 6 is Rose. Why don't you do your bit?
So I want to apologize for anyone that hates me at the moment for not liking the Empty Child or anything. Keep watching, please. I swear, I can explain myself. I'm not just doing this because I'm a cunt, but I like Rose because as a new viewer, it is something that really propels you into a story that is new and it's fresh, and it's something that makes you intrigued, and it kind of clicks on a certain level of being able to relate to it, but also not being able to relate to it, and in which it's more fantasy and it's got this how would I say this?
Magical charm.
Yeah, it's got a charm to it, and it's got this intrigue and the whole thing, the whole reason for Rose. Not the whole reason, but the reason I reckon Rose was so successful was because it wasn't written for the older people. It was written to gain that traction of the newer viewers. and it did it so perfectly. And the way it built the characters. Towards the end of that, it made you want to learn more about the Doctor. Made me want to go on this journey with Rose. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the music and just the style.
Yeah.
And everything. I think it was perfectly done. And I think when I watched it, I might have not rated it that high.
You gave it an 8.
An 8. Oh, that's pretty much what
it's
I think.
It's about the same
it
as
would be.
Adam.
But that's only because it was the first episode I watched, so
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what I liked and what I didn't.
Yeah. Excellent. So now it's time for my number 6. This was the hardest one to do. I was really stuck with this one, with the next 3, I think. But like I say, there are no ties. And I had to start thinking objectively about this. I had to because from a personal perspective, the next 3 episodes I all consider like equal with how much I love them. But I started to look at them more from a critical perspective. And I started to look at them from like a film study perspective. And most importantly, how they age. And that's why my number 6. So why my number 6 is Bad Wolf.
Snap.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love the episode Bad Wolf, and it is a wild ride from start to finish. But it doesn't live forever.
Yep.
Because it's got elements in it. If you watch Bad Wolf in 50 years' time, it's going to age, and it's going to have a bit of mold on it. It's still going to be
It's already started to age.
It's already started to age. It's still going to have like that great flavor to it, but it's going to have a little bit of mold on it. Yeah. Unlike some of the other episodes, which are timeless. But having said that, Bad Wolf is absolutely phenomenal. It sets up the finale perfectly. It's got so much drama in it. I love the game shows. I love Captain Jack. I love Rose. I love Christopher Eccleston in Bad Wolf is amazing. And that cliffhanger with the Daleks is phenomenal. Yeah. But when it really came down to it, I couldn't rank it higher than 6. However, it's still a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
I love Bad Wolf.
Okay, so I pretty much entirely agree with your sentiments, though I've rated Bad Wolf 8 out of 10.
But let's not forget, you have a very different scaling system.
Absolutely, I'm a bit tougher in giving out my scores. But I really do like Bad Wolf, and I think it's a perfect penultimate episode to set up the finale, and it's really, really fun. Again, it's one of these ones, I'm never bored. And things all start coming to a head with things that have sort of been sprinkled throughout the season, things that are the repeated memes, things coming back round, and I really like it. But the only reason it's my number 6 is because 5 through 1, I think, are just stellar episodes that are just simply put, they're just better in my eyes. Yeah.
Right. So your time. Well, you're gonna check the camera. Okay. We're getting to top 5 now.
Yeah.
This is hot.
I had a feeling your guy's number 1 and my guy's number 2. I think our 1s and 2s are probably
Interchangeable.
I think they're like.
All right, we'll get onto it.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Well, I don't think so, buddy. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is Aliens of London.
Oh.
And I know you loved Aliens of London.
Now, the reason I loved Aliens of London was because it's the first episode for me where I've really gotten excited whilst I was watching it. And if I were to think about it in terms of story and weight and like how it left an impression on me for the characters and stuff, if I rated it based on that, it would probably be it'd probably be a 7 or an 8. But I'm not rating it on that. I'm rating on what I enjoyed more.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is about Aliens of London. I think it's the music. I think it's the pace. I think it's the tone. I don't know what it is. In all,
you know what I think it is?
Do
you know what I think it is? I think you had this idea of what you wanted Doctor Who to be, and Aliens of London did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
The way it did a story that twisted out of proportion, as well as having the story arc over it as well.
Yeah. And I think that's why I just remember finishing the episode and just being really, like that was when I was hooked.
Yeah.
onto
I think
Doctor Who.
the biggest revelation from these reviews has been that episode.
Yeah, I'd say.
I couldn't believe how much we enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was amazing, that episode. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I think.
Justified number 5.
Yeah, it's my number 5 because it's what got me hooked onto Doctor Who now.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right, my number 5. Again, I had a really tough time picking between the next two. Similar to with the last one, Bad Wolf at number 6. But like I say, no ties. So my number 5 is The Empty Child.
Snap.
Wow. It's very similar.
I think stylistically it's the best episode of Series 1.
Yeah.
It has the best atmosphere,
I would agree.
the best cinematography, the creepiest villain,
Oh god, yeah.
from like a feelings perspective. But I think what makes it not higher than 5 for me simply comes down to the fact that it's a part 1 and it's not conclusive.
It's the most sort of cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Where it just, I mean, we complained about how World War III was just an Act 3.
Yeah.
But in this case, it stops. Whereas Aliens of London, there is a bit of it. Even though I much prefer this episode to Aliens of London, vastly so. Aliens of London, sort of the cliffhanger, like there was, it just felt like there was more going on. It wasn't ready. It was ready to cliffhanger.
It was more of an event at Aliens of London.
Yes, whereas
this was sort of just like, oh, it stopped.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, here we go, exciting actions and cut. Like it just, and that's pretty much all I can fault it for. Is pretty much just that ending because I adore everything.
But if I wanted to have a Doctor Who painting in my room, I'd want something from that episode.
Yes.
Yeah,
'Cause
same.
It's
That's my style.
Oh, it's so satisfying to watch that episode just for the style, the jazz music, the gas masks,
the
like I
sky.
said before, watching The Empty Child is like walking through mud with bare feet. It's very gritty. And
Captain Jack.
And Captain Jack too. Cool. So, Jake, what's your number 4?
Okay.
Oh, you've done your number 5, haven't you?
Oh yeah, it is.
Yes. So, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Dalek.
Ooh. Okay. Now that's not necessarily unpopular, because if you look at the DWM, that's about where it would be. Yeah.
And I mean, okay, so my reasoning for this is because I don't have the nostalgia of Doctor Who that you guys have, and I feel like that episode is whilst it is like the most amazing lore, like rich episode, it wouldn't resonate for me as much as it would for you guys because of the history of the Dalek.
History. Which is why it's not number 1 on DWM. It's The Empty Child of Dr. Dances, because you can watch The Empty Child of Dr. Dances without prior knowledge.
Exactly.
Whereas the Dalek has more if you have seen.
But then again, it comes down to this is the psychological warfare in this episode is so much more extreme than Boomtown, and that's why I love it so much. Is because it's such like you're putting the Doctor and the Dalek, sworn enemies, against each other, like in throughout the universe, and you're putting them on a plate together, and you're saying they're two beans in a pod.
Yeah.
And
it's like
sides of the same coin.
Yeah, and it's such great storytelling and such great character development and like moral questioning and stuff like that. And it's again like what I said about Boomtown is what I love in storytelling and character development, and that's why I like the episode so much.
Right.
But it is number 4 for a reason, and I'll tell you that.
Okay, that's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Well, now it's time for my number 4. And I think by what I've been saying in the last, couple with my comments, I think you'll be able to guess what it is. It's the Doctor Dances.
Snap.
Jesus.
So, the thing is, The Empty Child, I think I enjoy watching it more. But I rank the Doctor Dances higher because it impresses me more.
Yep.
And the reason why that is because I have seen so much Doctor Who where part 1 is awesome and part 2 is crap. But what the Doctor Dances does is wrap up the story in a way that is so smart that I can't not give it credit.
Yeah.
Even though there are parts to it, like some of the comedy, it's Stephen Moffat comedy, which gets under my skin.
But that's only because the Stephen Moffat comedy is because we've dealt with him writing so often that we've become smart to it.
Yeah.
Whereas back then,
My Stephen Moffat OCD triggers get on me on the Doctor Dances. But the conclusion to that story makes it all worth it.
I just like the fact that this is an episode where the Doctor completely wins. Like, and in the first episode, as you guys were saying, barefoot through mud. It's so gritty and it's gross and it's unsettling and physically disturbing with the body horror.
Yeah.
But the Doctor beats it and the Doctor wins. And the fact that there's no distinct antagonist, it was all just a misunderstanding. And the way it wraps, like, I do understand that it is very Hollywood and I can get why that would be an issue. But for me, having watched it and seeing this Doctor suffer so much and knowing this Doctor is the depressed Doctor, basically, seeing him smiling and saying, just this once rules, everybody lives. It's just, that line sums it up for me, why the Doctor Dances is above the Empty Child, purely because it brings me on a personal level, like, I feel like almost my heart sing when I see him, like, there is hope. There's time. I had to do this horrible thing, but there is still hope for me that I can still be what I used to be.
Oh, yes.
And that's why the Doctor Dances for me. And again, it's that thing of we have that history with
and
the
they very smartly put it after Dalek.
Yes.
That was a genius idea to put it after Dalek. So we're on to the top 3 now?
Yes.
Ooh.
These are the big boys. Jake Hanley, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Father's Day.
Snap. Not you.
Father's Day. What can I don't know what. Father's Day is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is a great performance by a side character or a companion. I don't know.
Companion.
A companion.
Yeah.
Just like a brilliant writing. Everything about it is so emotionally well done. It hits the right tones.
Yeah.
It hits the right story points. It explains a really great side story. It develops a character, like it develops Rose without developing Rose in the story.
Yeah.
It
just as her as a character.
Yeah. It makes Rose feel more human as well. Well, not more human, but it makes you
relatable.
Makes you just love her more.
Yes.
And makes you love Jackie more as well.
Yeah. There's a sort of tragedy to Jackie that you didn't like.
Yeah.
You assume that something happened with her husband or partner, but then when they actually fully explain it, you're like, fuck, that's miserable.
It is the I don't know if you remember we saying this, but it is the exact character development story that I wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said that in the episode.
Yes.
That is exactly what I wanted from a character development. Even though it wasn't about the Doctor, it was still amazing and enjoyable.
Yes. For a long time, in my opinion, this was the most underrated episode of New Who. I think, like I said, with the streaming generation, Father's Day is getting more popularity, which is awesome. I think David Tennant has a point in saying that this is his favourite episode of Doctor Who.
Yes.
Knowing that he likes those emotional roller coasters.
Yeah.
Father's Day for me was such a surprise on rewatch of Series 1 back when I rewatched it last year, because I just didn't remember anything about it. And then I went into it not knowing what it was going to be, and then I watched it, and it absolutely blew me out of the water. I could not believe how much I loved Father's Day. The music's amazing. I love Pete Tyler. I love Rose, Jackie, Doctor, everything about Father's Day. The Time Reapers are like cool as shit, even though it creates a massive plot hole. Still, in itself, Father's Day tells the exact story that I like to see from TV.
Yeah. And using this the science fiction backdrop to tell a heartbreaking story.
Yes.
From that, yeah.
So for me, Father's Day is not just a great Doctor Who episode, but it's a great episode of television altogether and storytelling. And it's Rose's best performance.
By far.
By far. Yeah. I love Father's Day. Yeah. It's not my number 3, but I give it a 10 out of 10 because I just can't fault it. Adam, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is The Parting of the Ways.
I thought so.
So, I really love the finale. I absolutely adore it. But I find it to be a little bit sort of... having seen so many Dalek stories before, like the character stuff in it is brilliant, and the Doctor regenerating through taking the heart of the TARDIS from Rose, excellent, and Jack dying and then being brought back to life and that kind of subversion. I really like the finale, except for the fact that even though the Daleks were a threat, the mass amount of Daleks for some reason kind of lessen it for me on rewatch. Maybe it's just because I've been overexposed to Daleks or something. I love this episode. I've rated it a 9 out of 10. I think all the character stuff is flawless. I think it's a stunning episode. But the reason it's not my number 1 or number 1 or 2 is just because I think I was a little burnt out on Daleks and just retroactively having my experience with the show.
That's understandable.
I just find the ending, the threat to be kind of generic.
Did you think you loved it more when you were a kid?
Yes. I definitely liked it more as a kid. But I kind of had the same thing because I used to watch Classic Who as a kid as well. Yeah. So I've always the Daleks have always been in my seeing them on this scale was amazing. But again, I was just there are other elements to the Daleks which I can't quite divulge here that I would have liked to seen them, but that's for another time.
Cool. Right. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is The Parting of the Ways.
Snap.
Oh.
The finale.
Yeah. So for me, number 2. First finale I've ever watched of Who. Obviously, it's going to be a massive experience for me. And, of course, it was with the amazing 2-parter that the finale was. The Daleks, the mass production of Daleks from humans. Yeah. Fuck, that's cool.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the long game for the satellite being slowly taken over to let the Daleks invade and destroy. Fuck, it's cool. And then the ending with Rose becoming the bad wolf and fucking people up. Oh my god. What? It's just it
is a finale, isn't it?
It's epic to every single proportion it can be. It is epic. Yeah. And whilst I say I don't like that other 2-parter because it's Hollywood. This is definitely Hollywood.
Yeah.
There's no doubt it's Hollywood. But for some reason, I just like it more. Yeah. And I can't... It's just
tighter.
Me.
And the fact that if all these little things throughout the season leading up to this point, which is something I love about Russell T Davies as a showrunner, is nothing really seems to be done on accident.
Yeah.
The long game as an episode is kind of naff, but as we were saying, there's some brilliant sort of behind the main story set up that we just subconsciously were aware of but didn't know until the end that's what the long game was. Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry to spoil this for you all, but The Parting of the Ways is my favourite New Who finale. This is never going to be topped. Sorry. There is literally nothing you can do to make me not nothing, but it's going to take a fucking hell of an episode to top this for me as a finale. I love The Parting of the Ways. When I watch, this is the episode that I have the most nostalgia for, because I remember sitting on the couch with my dad watching this episode, thinking this is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And for me, this episode represents Doctor Who in a nutshell. It's a base under siege story with Daleks. Yep. You can't get more Doctor Who than that.
That is true.
Also, it ties together the entire season in a way that just I love. I love how all the storylines connect to this one episode and it all makes sense. I love the drama with Rose going back to Earth and having to fight for fight to come back. The presence of Jackie and Mickey, it just puts another interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And the other thing is this story is fucking dark.
Yeah.
The way it's very understated, but the way that the Daleks were using the humans to create new Daleks, taking one cell out of a million, and I love the presence of the Emperor Dalek as well. Like you said, absolutely epic, and not being my number one is not an embarrassment at all.
No.
There is a very special reason why this isn't my number one, and it's not to the fault of the Parting of the Ways at all. I love the Parting of the Ways, and I wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah.
So what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Father's Day. Because I'm very big on as I've mentioned before, on using a science fiction element to tell a more personal story. And to take Rose, who for the most part was kind of flirty and fun-loving and did some dumb things and was kind of annoying at points, but also very charismatic, because Billie Piper is a very charismatic actress and for the most part was written well. And then suddenly this episode just comes out of nowhere and introduces a really cool villain, puts the Doctor fully on the back foot because the TARDIS gone, and introducing Jackie Tyler, but when she was younger, so just to see where Rose has come from, basically, to see Rose's history.
Yeah.
And
even the paradoxical element of it as well.
Absolutely, and the whole thing of Rose does something so stupid in this episode, but you understand why she did it.
Yeah.
She wants to see her father alive.
Yeah.
And anyone would be in that situation. Any one of us would make the same mistake. It's just, I think it's just a brilliant episode, and it's one of these personal episodes that's a lower sort of. It's not grand. It's not super depressing. It's kind of more melancholy, but I think it's just perfectly executed.
Yeah.
Jakey boy,
Hello.
what is your number 1?
My number 1 is. Have you guys figured it out?
I know what it is.
Have you figured it out?
Oh, I mean, there's one left.
Do you know what it is?
Yes.
It's the Bad Wolf.
That's the one.
Bad Wolf.
Okay, so the Bad Wolf.
It's just called Bad Wolf.
Oh, Bad Wolf. So Bad Wolf, from the start, I didn't like it. And I don't know if you remember.
I remember you
I
were like, oh, fucking hate game shows.
Exactly. And I do. I fucking hate game shows. But I've never seen game shows used as an element in storytelling that's so smart and just adds such a layer of fear and anxiety and it's what a game show should be.
Yeah.
But not as extreme, not as violent.
It's the best game show you've ever seen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff like the Doctor just outsmarting everything and everyone in that episode, figuring out and then the travesty of Rose. And
because she died, didn't she?
And my feeling of just my heart sunk when that happened, because I 100% believe Rose was dead.
And Christopher Eccleston sold it.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
well.
And the depression and everything after that, and them just in the cell, and just him just fucking completely zoned out and just being I've fucked up, I failed again. The comedy elements in it as well with Jack, and also the comedy elements with Rose. That was funny as fuck as well.
The fact that she's unaware that how dangerous the situation she's in, and she's just playing it off as cocky and fun and laughing at how it's the android, not realizing these fuckers are dead.
And then the introduction of that chick, what's her name? Can't remember.
Linda. Oh, that was perfect.
That was
the way they put that in there before.
Yeah.
Because I was subliminally thinking, wait, she's here because Rose is, oh shit, and then Rose died. I'm like, no, I'm stuck with Linda.
Yeah, and then there's that one moment when they're in jail and Doctor's like, let's do it. And
Yeah.
Captain Jack comes out, kicks
Yeah.
open the door, grabs the biggest gun he can
It's so
find.
cool.
And he's like, do I look like an out of bounds sort of guy?
What else? The what's-
cliffhanger with the Daleks. I remember you were just like,
let me get to that. The what's the name of the overseer lady?
the controller.
The controller.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
That's disturbing
yeah.
as well with the
Oh,
wires.
it looks so cool though, and just like that imagery was awesome. And then the fact that she is just she isn't the controller, she is the controlled,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is like
She's the remote,
Yeah.
basically.
yeah, she's like a medium for the Daleks. That was cool. I love that element, and I thought that was really, really interesting. There's just something about the episode that just I really, really liked.
Yeah, it was like the opposite of The Empty Child. Like
Yeah.
where stylistically there was something about it that you loved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still love Empty Child
Yeah.
stylistically.
Yeah.
But I didn't love the story as much as I love the story
Yeah,
of
true.
the Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
And I also love the style of it.
Yeah.
And it was like Aliens of London.
On
on
steroids.
steroids.
Yeah.
That's what I said to
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
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 That's why it's my number
yeah,
one.
as soon as we finished recording Aliens of London, I knew you'd love Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
Just because it's that episode, but a million times better.
And that's why
Yeah.
it's my number one. I think
Awesome.
it's the one that really just I was excited for because of the name.
Mm.
I was excited for because I wanted all of that lore to be explained to me and stuff like that.
But overall, you'd say that 2-part finale is your benchmark for Doctor Who.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is a bloody good story.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah.
But of course, there is one left.
And I
that
know
is-
exactly what it is.
That is our number one, which
Yep.
is 3, 2, 1.
Dalek.
Dalek.
It's just brilliant.
Oh my god. I mean, what didn't we already say in the video?
I know. It's just.
Even though it's not a 10 for you. Oh, it is a 10 for you. No, a 10 for
Okay, so-
9.5 for him.
I was saying it's a 9.5.
Only because of Adam.
You know what? I'm actually willing to look past Adam because the more I think about Dalek, that Adam stuff is such a minimal part of it. And if I can look past the fighting aliens, I can look past the fart in the wind that is Adam Mitchell. Like,
Maybe give it a 9.9.
yeah, it's not like other than Adam, it is perfect. Like, it's just perfect balance of taking something old and making something new out of it, which is what a reboot should do, and bringing gravitas back to both the Doctor and the Daleks. And the fact that they made the Daleks a threat by having this one Dalek wipe out this entire warehouse of guys, and little things as well, like, just, I mentioned it, but from the first scene when they're in the museum, he looks at the Cyberman head, and the reflection, the Cyberman helmet takes over his head, which is kind of indicative of the whole theme of the episode, that he sees himself in his enemy, which again comes back later in Boomtown, because season 1's writing is fucking brilliant, but Dalek is what I hold the standard to. It's one of my favorite episodes of television ever. I just adore it.
Oh my god, yes. I agree with literally everything you said. Dalek is the ultimate face-off of Doctor Who. It is, let's put the main character and the main villain in one room, and let's make you confused.
Yes! Make you question.
This was the episode that told you this show is not necessarily about good and evil. This is a family show which is going to have a lot of predictable episodes in it. But every now and then, and once in a blue moon, you're going to get an episode like Dalek where everything gets turned upside down and everything feels like real life.
Yeah, I know, it's just...
Dalek, for me, is the best episode of Series 1, and it's Christopher Eccleston's best performance. It's just perfection in a bottle. It's not my favourite episode of Doctor Who ever,
No,
but
it's up there.
it's up there. And believe me, it is actually a long time before it gets beat.
Yeah, there's... Same here with... Well,
It's a while.
though for me, there's a couple episodes we'll get to them that are on par with it, that come reasonably soon. But still, Dalek is just, it's the standard.
It is the standard. The gold standard. And honestly, I know that a lot of people like to put their nose up and say that Classic Who's better. But this is the best writing the Daleks have ever had, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
There is nothing in Classic Who that beats the way the Dalek was written in this.
The Daleks in the original show are threatening because there's nothing to them, if that makes sense. Because they are just one-dimensional killing machines. They have a really fascinating backstory, but the characters there are no characters in the Daleks. That changed with this episode, and it made the Daleks relevant again.
And I can firmly say that this episode is New Who.
Yes, and
that is the way to describe it.
And also the parting of the ways and Bad Wolf. The ending of Bad Wolf, where it's the Daleks. The impact would not have been nearly as good had this episode not been in it. Because everyone would be like, oh yes, of course, the Daleks. As opposed to like, oh shit, they're a big deal. They're all supposed to be dead. All this stuff that it's just... Oh.
And that cliffhanger is heightened by the fact that one Dalek was shown so dangerous and then there's 500,000 of them. Honestly, like the fact that Robert Sherman hasn't written another TV story
write some more.
Is very sad. Because this was incredible.
Yeah.
He's just a one and done. He's like, well, I've reached my benchmark.
Yeah. Never
See you later.
Oh, God.
Perfection.
Thank fuck for Series 1.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Whew, that was heavy.
That was about an hour itself.
That one segment was an hour.
Yeah. Of course, those are subjective. But now we come down to the group ranking.
Mm-hmm.
This all comes down to your first... Well, not necessarily your first instinct, but your instant feeling after seeing the episode. And this is as official as this channel is going to get to having a ranking. So, I've calculated all the scores we gave for the episodes and have come together with a list of 13. And if I ever write up an official Genesis of Androzani ranking, I'll consider these rankings. So number 13 is The Unquiet Dead, with 5.75 points.
Okay.
Which is not bad.
No, that's still a 5 is a positive review. It's just okay.
5.75.
Yeah.
Then we've got The Long Game with 6. Which is pretty much agreeing with what we all said about it. At 12. Number 11 is World War 3 with 7.5. This was very close to the rest, but unfortunately it just didn't quite get it higher than than we'd hoped. Well, then you'd hoped it from the episode if you really liked it.
Yeah.
But it stays at number 11. Number 10 is Boomtown with 7.6, so it's just slightly higher than World War 3. I think if there's anything that comes down to that is that it's more serious.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes
it's more grounded as well.
Sometimes doing something more serious earns you more points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then even another one that's even close is number 9, At the End of the World, with 7.75. I think the only reason this ranks so high is because of me.
Yeah, because you put it much higher than we did.
But I think, in saying that, that means that The End of the World did something for someone.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessarily the most popular episode. Number 8, Aliens of London, with 8.1 points. The biggest revelation from this series of us watching that episode. Great. Number 7 is Rose with 8.5. Very solid. Number 6, The Empty Child with 9. So this is one of these things where your initial reaction for these episodes was a lot better than it was today.
Yeah.
When thinking about it.
But like I said and like you've said, it's hard to differentiate ranks. The top 13, the only really two that mattered were the bottom two.
Yes.
Everything else is very, very close together.
They're all the same.
I would agree.
bracket.
I would agree. Like Long Game and Unquiet Dead were the bottom for me personally, and you had Into the World low, didn't you? Anyway, those two, and then everything else above it was just fantastic.
And it's this thing of, had we been able to make ties, it would have been the two parters together Because
Yeah.
I think as a whole, the two parts
No
have
ties.
have a reasonably consistent quality.
Yes, but
So that affected their individual ranking.
but that's what makes this interesting. This group ranking is because it's your opinions changed.
But also, after we have our discussion, a couple of days after, I think about it again, and I'm like, did that really do that for me? And it's like,
were you being too generous? Maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
Because you just come off the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also when you're doing a ranking, you're looking more in comparison as opposed to by itself.
Yeah.
Which is why this list was much easier for me to make than I would imagine it was for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 5 is the Doctor Dancers with 9.25, just slightly higher, and I think that's down to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Father's Day with 9.5.
Yep.
I think we just all agreed that it was very, very good.
Yeah.
Did you give it a 9.5?
No, just a 9.
A
Yeah.
9.
And you
right.
gave it a 9.
10. Did I?
No, you gave it a 9, and I gave it a 10.
Oh. Well.
There we go.
Number 3 is Dalek
Yep.
with 9.66.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like you're getting close to nails there.
Yes.
Like that,
Yeah.
it's razor thin from this point.
I think I gave it a 9.5.
I think you'll notice that the top 3 are Daleks.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that says something.
And also, what did we vote as the best villain?
Or
I mean,
me and
still-
you.
we got- still- we
Me
got
and you.
still- yeah.
He said the gas mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, there's this whole...
Yes.
Very close.
Number 2 was Bad Wolf with 9.75, and then the number 1 was The Parting of the Ways with 10.
Whoa.
You weren't there, so you couldn't exactly give your opinion on it.
No.
But we both gave it a 10.
And I rank it very
Just
high.
a phenomenal finale, really.
Mine is 9 out of 10 anyway, so it's like
Yeah.
just a notch below.
But yeah, that's our group ranking, and that's sort of as official as it's going to get, really.
Yep.
Okay. The story arc. What did you think of the story arc of Series 1?
It didn't really leave a lot to be desired, which is nice. It did feel quite packaged, and then it left with a nice note at the end. It was a crawl, and it was a run, and it was a crawl again, and there was a run, and it felt like I was getting stabbed with emotion sometimes, and then someone just fucking was just like tickling me at the same time for a little bit of humor. But at the end of the day, it was an amazing story arc, and I think it sucks that Series 1 has such an amazing story arc.
Because it's like, how the hell do you follow
Yeah,
it?
it's like I don't know if anything else will beat this for me.
Mm.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Whilst it sucks that it has such a bad story arc, it is the perfect story arc for a Series 1 of a
Yes.
series.
Yeah,
Because it will hook it won't hook everyone, but it is such an amazing series for hooking someone in, and me as a new viewer, I am completely invested in Doctor Who, and it sucks that we're doing this because I can't just binge watch
Yeah, you can't.
everything.
Mm. But luckily for the viewers, they'll get your reactions for
Yeah.
the whole thing. The whole damn show. What did you think of the story arc of Series 1?
I think the story arc is a really solid one. It's because it's not one where it's sort of overbearing to the degree of the individual episodes. Like it doesn't impair, because it's hard for me because I won't compare it to other later story arcs, which but this specific one is really good because it's just really simple, which is what I quite like, because it didn't.
Perfect for Series 1.
Absolutely, it didn't overcomplicate anything. They had this thing, the bad wolf that was following them, and unless you were looking for it, with a couple of exceptions where they, like the kid spray tagging on the TARDIS, where it's in the foreground. For the most part, they're just little things that go past like that, and you only necessarily notice if you're rewatching it.
Yeah.
But in this case, you pointed them out. And the same with the fact that it was all leading to the Daleks and the long game and everything. It's stuff that was all in the background that was slowly bubbling to the surface, which made Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways such a good finale because it felt satisfying. It didn't feel like one standalone story that was just good.
Yeah.
It felt like everything was coming to a head. It felt like there was a point to almost every episode. It felt like there was if it wasn't a character building episode, it was a story building episode. If it wasn't a story building episode, it was an emotional building episode, so on and so forth. So I think it's really, really solid and really, really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Series 1's my favourite, and it's because they went for something that's quite... It's not overcomplicated. It's quite a simple story arc. But the way Russell T Davies managed just to weave it throughout the series, it works so well because he utilizes all the different... Like, this is the perfect way to take Classic Who and make it into a streamlined story. Because Classic Who was known for its great one-off stories, but there wasn't a lot of time where they actually connected them. Whereas what Russell T Davies did is he took the template of Doctor Who of having these one-off adventures and streamlining them together into one story that all crescendoed at the end.
Absolutely.
And that's why I love this story arc, and that's why I think Bad Wolf was a success, because they didn't make it too complicated.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah.
It works so well. And there's only one other story arc that I think is better, and I think it's the same one. We're not going to say what it is.
But there is a story arc.
There is only one that's better, and it has a distinct advantage.
Yeah.
However, in terms of execution, I love the way Series 1 does it.
But yeah, the thing is about that other one is Russell T Davies had already done one before. This was the practice round essentially, and then things. Yes, we'll get to that when we get to that.
We'll get to that when we get to that, whenever it is.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go down. The continuing arcs. The Rift.
Mm-hmm.
The Rift. Discuss the Rift.
It's a rift.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Well, I don't know what it could be used for, and I don't know how they're going to use it, but it's definitely something that is...
You excited to see it again?
Sure. It doesn't really play a massive part.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. But yeah, it definitely does have the potential to be a massive,
Mm.
impactful thing on a story. But yeah, as for now, it hasn't really been.
They've only teased it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they used it to charge the TARDIS.
Yeah, but then the Gelth came through as well, remember? And
Yeah.
Unquite Dead, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, you'll be happy to see the Rift again.
Yeah.
Cool. So, in the episode Bad Wolf, your favourite, during the Weakest Link, they mentioned Torchwood.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you know about Torchwood?
Well, from what we've talked about, it is a side series.
It's its own TV show.
Oh.
However, it's not just that.
No.
It is also a Doctor Who story arc.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
No, but hang on a second, Jake. It's
What?
not just its own TV show, it's also a Doctor Who story arc.
Oh, so it has the Doctor in it.
Not quite,
No, Torchwood doesn't have the Doctor in it, not the TV show.
But the Doctor Who does have Torchwood in it.
Ah.
See? Now that's the thing that people most get confused about, is they think that if they watch Torchwood they'll see the Doctor. No, if you watch Doctor Who you'll see Torchwood.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get more into that later.
That's just a little tease.
Little tease. And of course the big one, the Time War. At the end of the Parting of the Ways, Rose said that the Time War is over, but do you think it's really over?
Who knows?
Because let's not forget, a time war doesn't necessarily run in a straight line, does it? It's relative.
Yeah.
It's time locked,
Yeah.
but it is relative. So, is there anything about the Time War that you're interested in learning about, or knowing, or seeing, or progressing with?
Just why it happened.
Right.
Okay,
Fair enough.
fair enough.
And what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why-
what happened?
Yeah, that's
Very important.
Why did shit get eradicated?
Yeah.
Right. So, conclusion and rating out of 10 for the series. Now, for the episodes, we generally went for you either have to pick a solid number or a 0.5. But me personally, I'm going to go more specific. I'm going to go for 0.1s of
Right.
decimal places. This is so that when I can put the series next to each other, I can differentiate. Because there are some that are very close for me. So,
But no ties.
no ties. No ties. So, give your conclusion and a rating out of 10 to knowing that you can use decimal places.
So, series 1 for me, without watching any other series ever in its entirety, and without having any other previous influence or trying to not be influenced by other episodes I have watched on the odd occasion, I'm gonna give this series a 9, a flat 9, just because I think it's really awesome, and if I were to be 40 years old and come back to watch Doctor Who, the first thing I would do, I hope, would be to watch Series 1
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah.
And that's why I give it a 9. Because I feel like it will have the most nostalgic impact on me.
Absolutely.
Out of the whole of Doctor Who.
Perfect. And basically, same thing. The show is still going today. And it wouldn't had this series not been good. Had it not been cleverly written, cleverly thought out, brilliantly acted, brilliantly directed, and kind of, most importantly, well composed. Brilliant old Murray Gold. Had it not had all these things just hit it out of the park, we probably wouldn't have the show beyond this one season. But we do. And it's all thanks to this season. And it's brilliant. It has flaws, as every season does, but I absolutely adore it. So I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Fittingly.
This has a very, very strong contendership for my favourite season of television ever. It's very difficult because Doctor Who is a special case where you like it because there's stuff that's good and bad,
Yeah.
as opposed to other TV shows that are more consistent. But I can honestly say just no other series brings me back to my childhood like this one does.
Yeah.
And the run of episodes is so good. The fact that my least favourite episode of the season was a 6 is just unbelievable. Obviously, it's not perfect.
No, yeah.
But honestly, like, I don't think I'm ever going to dislike this season.
No.
It's going to stick with me for life. And I'm going to give it a 9.6 out of 10. Because it's just phenomenal. You're looking at me all silent.
Oh, well, you summed up perfectly.
Yes. Right, so now we're going to read out some comments.
Hey.
I got more than one this time.
Ooh.
So, this one is from CP, and it's about Father's Day. I started watching Doctor Who in 1974, and this is probably an all-time top 10er for me. As always, entertaining, insightful, honest, and thorough. Great work, Genesis of Androzani.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I would agree with the sentiment about Father's Day being one of, like, it's not in my top 10, but that's just because there are so many other good episodes that I love.
For New Who, it's in mine.
For New Who, it's probably in mine as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree.
This one's from Who BP8. This is in regard to the comment I made about the Empty Child the Doctor Dances being the first story where no one dies.
Mm-hmm.
He says, well, let's start going through the stories from the beginning. Let's see. An Unearthly Child, The Daleks, The Edge of Destruction. Oops! I only had to get to the third story to find another one where nobody dies. Wrong again, internet.
Congratulations, sir.
You
All
fooled
that.
us again. You fooled the whole internet.
We got another one from CP. I'm getting a bit greedy now, aren't I? I think this is from either The Empty Child, The Doctor Dancer. I think it's Empty Child. Popcorn. Good call. I guess Jack writing the... Oh, no, it's The Doctor Dancers, yeah.
Because you opened it with saying get some popcorn.
Yeah.
I did what?
You did.
I got some popcorn.
No,
No,
you
you-
said get popcorn.
Oh,
Yeah. I guess Jack writing
hope you got some.
I guess Jack riding the bomb was a visual nod to the iconic Major Kong riding a bomb in Stanley Kubrick's Doctor Strangelove. And well, it is Captain Jack, so
Oh,
it
yeah.
kind of fits. Very much enjoyed the seeing of the clip of Fourth Doctor explaining dimensional transcendentalism, what the fuck, to Leela. Whatever the boxes. The boxes. Splendid stuff, gentlemen, loving your reviews. Thank you, CP. And the last comment. I think I cut out the name. I'm very sorry about that, but you've got the icon with the the spoilers on it. this is based. This is
Just add the name of post.
Yeah, and add it in post. Agatha Harkness. So this is the one that Jack's name was based on. She's from the Fantastic Four. Agatha Harkness was the nanny for Franklin Richards, the son of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. Agatha was a literal white witch with formidable magical powers, chosen to look after Franklin as her abilities would provide an additional means of defending him in the event of an attack by the FF's enemies. Her son Nicholas Scratch was a villainous warlock who ended up fighting for the Fantastic Four, as did a team of magically powered followers of Scratch known as the Salem Seven. Later, Agatha Harkness appeared in the Avengers for a time where she taught magic to the Scarlet Witch in addition to her own mutant superpowers.
Ooh.
I don't know what the fuck that was about.
That was some Marvel stuff.
Thanks for that though, Mr. Spoilers.
I can't even see.
Mr.
Oh yes.
Yes. Oh yes.
Oh, I can't wait for that episode.
Oh yeah. Right, I got one big question for you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited for Series 2 / David Tennant, and what would you like to see?
I'm definitely excited. For what I would like to see, I don't know, because I really like the grungy, depressed
Ninth Doctor.
Yeah. But now that he's saved the world a couple of times, and he's I don't know, maybe a quirky Doctor, a more comedic, quirky, upbeat Doctor. I have seen, one-ish.
Yeah. You saw one episode of David Tennant where it wasn't comedy. It was scary.
Which one is this?
Midnight.
And I thought it was great. So I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to more psychological stuff. And more lore, just more lore.
Oh.
Yeah, everyone wants more lore.
Yeah,
Just
especially
well.
in Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, this has been a hell of a video.
Whew, next
time, we're gonna be starting Series 2 with the mini episode Born Again. Any idea what that's gonna be about?
Yeah, it's about David Tennant being born.
Yes.
Fairly accurate.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. See you then.
I'll do it too.